Welcome to the first ever episode of the Boba Joe Show. Who are we? Bobahicks is Mark, Unmasked Maniac is me, Jonny. On today's episode, we talk about our favourite vintage Ninja Turtles. Oh, a piece of this guy just fell on the floor. We talk about some Masters Origins toys, and later on we get into talk about playing classic arcade games and the experience of going to the old arcades, early days of PlayStation and that sort of thing. In future episodes, we'll be talking about wrestling, mutants, robots, toys, science fiction. Some shows will have a presentation and key topic with some visuals and a bit of a history lesson and whatever that little niche is. And other ones like today are a bit more casual and just relax, just having a chat about whatever. So kick back, pick your poison, and let's get cracking. Okay, I'm here with Bobahicks. It's John in Perth. And we're talking about masters and toys and whatever the fuck we feel like talking about.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, so we're talking about the bloody taxes and masters and...
Oh, it's just the import tax is just... The import tax and the customs combined will kill you, you know? They put you off even getting involved. I was going to ask, like, had you kind of... picked a few favorite figures out of your own collection. I know you'd had I thought I saw a wingnut earlier on when I first popped into the... Yeah, I was
messing with it. I was just giving them the old makeup brush to get some dust off. Make them presentable. Yeah, my missus gifted me a few of these over the years. Like, it is an actual makeup brush, and they're so great because I'm sitting here and every 3-6 months I go through with proper stuff. I get a fan in here, put a dust mask on, because this is the dustiest house I've ever lived in because we've got big ceiling vents without air conditioning, and we live 5 minutes from the ocean, so ocean breeze, and there's constant building here, so shit just piles up and it messes up my silences. But I have a rule: if I touch a toy in this room for more than 10 seconds, I've got to start dusting it while I'm here.
That's a good policy. It keeps everything kind of clean, and it saves you from having to do that yearly big clean, which everybody
I've got to do it at
doing.
least every 3 to 6 months, and I kind of go shelf by shelf. I'll do it'll take me 20 to 30 minutes to do one of them sections back there, like each one of them. But I have to bring a fan in, otherwise it'll blows around and straight into my lungs, and I'm stuffed for 2 or 3 days and my lungs with dust.
Yeah, I when I got the glass cabinets put in first, I was like, oh well, at least now I won't have to clean the stuff as much.
No,
but what happens is it all gets in there, and then what's worse is you end up cleaning the glass as well, because all you can see is all this dust on the glass.
I've never bothered with glass anything, not just because of the price, but because like this is literally the dustiest place I've ever lived, like New Zealand, Australia, other states. It's just I don't know, the whole district and suburb. Just like if you go outside every day, there's like a layer of stuff on the ground. I've got to sweep around the door and everything. So it's just a waste of time. I just do what I just rotate through each section every month or two and do a bit, and keep it manageable.
Yeah,
drives me
nuts.
It's
a good policy. Yeah, no, it has to be done. Like I live in like an agricultural area, so there's a lot of just dust from crops being cut, especially at this time of year. It's just and I've pets,
constant
so
building,
a lot of just
building houses everywhere.
Not good for the toys.
Not good for my lungs, because I have some kind of fucking problem with my lungs now. I didn't know about till several years ago. It's like they reckon it's some kind of asthma. I've never had asthma attack. I don't take medication because it doesn't do anything, but it's basically pollution-induced damage to my lungs. So I have to be mindful when I'm dusting not to breathe too much of it in. But yeah,
Better safe
got
than
some of
sorry.
the yeah, I got some of the old favourites down here. I got Metalhead.
Oh, beautiful.
Love that chrome. I don't know which one this is because I've got about 3 of them now. Anytime I find a cheap one on eBay, I buy it. Just if I reckon he's a cool little like trooper because he's a robot. So if you can get extras, and they've always got you get the second hand ones. The arms are always mixed up. They've got 2 left hands or 2 right hands. So if I buy extra ones, sometimes I can get the right parts and try and part one together. But I don't think I have even one complete one. I've got about 3 all in different stages of different stuff. Like this one hasn't got the other arm, so I just leave the robot nunchuck thing on there. And I love that chrome so much. Like I got the Super 7 one last year, and it was a nice figure, but it didn't have any of that chrome or vac metal that they can't do, but that now they're doing version 2, those bloody Silverhawks, the lying bastards. It didn't have any of that, and it didn't have the same look or feel to me. And I get not doing the chrome, okay, just paint it, but it didn't even give it decent gold metallic paint, and it didn't
And
have the
didn't give
light
us any,
piping at the
yeah,
top.
no light piping. I was just about to say
And
that
that just
because
really got me. I'm like, you can't do light piping. It's just clear plastic. Come on, for $100 bloody Australian toy. So I ended up just selling it for half price and just pissing it off for you. I got so annoyed, I just got rid of it.
I did end up keeping mine, but it's like it's the only Super 7 Turtles figure I have,
Mm-hmm.
and it's mainly because I like the character more than I like the
Mm-hmm.
actual figure. The figure is a real
Yeah,
letdown. It doesn't hold up to the vintage one at all. It doesn't even
no,
really stand
like
up that well. I have mine. I'm actually looking at it now across over the laptop. It's kind of leaning against the
well,
glass because its joints are really janky. It can't really stand by itself.
yeah, I was annoyed about that. Like I'm still buying some of the Super 7, just the monsters and that. Like that's the Super 7 Mikey, and I was really annoyed about just this fucking neck joint and how hollow that head is. Why is it all hollowed out? There's like nothing in there. That really annoyed me because you put it on, the whole back of his neck is just hollow and just that shit just really
It
annoyed me.
pops right
Where it
off
really,
when he falls over. I'd imagine it just pops right off as well if it's
yeah.
anything like the
But
Metalhead figure.
the Necker Metal head's really he did the cartoon style one. He's great. Like
Yeah.
beautiful figure. Stands up. He's nice, and so I really wanted if they'd done the chrome and the light piping on the head, I would have kept that Super 7 metal head because that's what I wanted. Like, give me another version of this because I love this figure so much, and they didn't. It's just lazy, and
Yeah, I think with Super 7, a lot of your money goes on the box. That's what it
yeah,
feels
for
like
sure.
because the figures they look nice when they're sitting in the packaging, but
Mhm.
once you take them out and start moving them around, they don't
Yeah,
feel like something you
but
paid a lot of money for.
they really don't. Like, there's exceptions. Like, I think I've got some of their Thundercats, and I'm buying them because they're the only 6, 7 inch Thundercats, and no one else is doing them. And I'm only going after the core 8 characters. Your 4 heroes minus the stupid kids and the 4 main villains in the first season. The rest of them don't really care. But and they're all still using that old Mattel classic He-Man style buck over a decade later. But they have done nicer stuff on like this guy, like the Muckman. That's the Super 7. He's awesome, and
He looks
the
great. He looks
articulation's
great.
nothing, but the sculpt is beautiful. It's exactly what I wanted out of a modern version of him, where he's got extra detail, all the little bits of weird stuff all over him. Every piece of it is painted and coloured in that you can only just see if you squint on the vintage one that I've got sitting there as well. And like he's awesome. He's awesome. The Bebop and Rocksteady are awesome. The Wingnut they've done I don't have yet, but he looks really good. The bigger weird mutants really stand out, and they've done new tooling and new sculpting, unlike on the Thundercats and other stuff. They're just relying on those old bucks. Like there's no He-Man parts in this.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, it was just unlucky or maybe unfortunate that I chose Metalhead as my first Super 7 figure. It was probably just
Well, I didn't like the
a bad
turtles
one to
themselves
go.
in the Super 7.
Yeah, they
And
look
he's
good.
just the
No, they look
recent of
nice,
those.
and like you were saying, the Bebop and Rocksteady look really nice as well. You see,
And
that's what
then
I'm.
they're
That's what I'm
gigantic.
looking for. I want the old vintage toy, but it looks like it's on steroids with more
Yeah,
detail. That's
yeah.
basically
It's
what I'm
exactly
looking
what the
for.
Bebop and Rock were.
Yeah,
And the 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 Mutagen Man and the Wingnut that I don't have yet, these are like the toy version rather than the cartoon, because most of your later wave 2, wave 3, 4 enemy or bad guy characters, they were nothing to do with the show. They were designed by the toy guys, that Mirage toy designers that worked on Archie Comics, worked on the toys, and they made them as gross and disgusting and weird as possible. The animation models, they would just pop up for one episode and they would simplify them. And the guys working on that show didn't know anything about the character. They just had reference material and be like, simplify this, and and it's one and done. So the toy version is the definitive version for most of those weird weird mutants, and it makes me think of the old like Hulk and Toxic Avenger and stuff like that. They're just so weird and disgusting.
I think it was nice of them though to put that type of effort into the character design. Because I know, like,
Yeah,
especially when I was growing up, because it was hard to get your hands on like the main villain characters. Sometimes like those other mutant guys ended up being like your main bodies, like
yeah.
Triceraton. Like that
Hmm.
figure looked
I
brilliant.
still don't
He was
have one.
pretty much, yeah, he was like my stand-in for Rocksteady because I didn't have a
Hmm.
Rocksteady for ages when I was a kid. So Triceraton was like my main kind of heavy for
Yeah,
Shredder. But it's a great looking figure. It's really I actually I think I do have mine to hand here.
yeah. That's
He's
one
an
of my
awesome
favorite
looking
figures,
figure.
even though I've never owned it. I've been trying to get it for like more than 20 years now.
And he's so colorful as well.
And he's a troop
Playmates
builder.
actually
You
did a
want
good
three of them.
version of it. Exactly, exactly. He's a really nice looking figure. I'm a big as you know, I'm a big dinosaur fan as well, so he kind of
Oh
ticks
yeah,
a
I
few
love my
boxes there
dinosaurs.
for me.
And like
But yeah,
that
he's
was
just
the
so
troop.
colorful and vibrant.
I don't know if people bought it as a troop builder back then, but that was there from the Mirage comics, being it's a whole race of the Triceratons, and in the later Nick show they did the invasion. So you want several because they're so good. Um,
Yeah,
here's
because
one of your time
oh, Slash, I love
favorite.
Slash.
He's my equal favorite character of Turtle with Raph and Slash, and sometimes I put them together on the Turtle cycle.
Your Slash has a different colored thingy than mine. Mine has like a
Oh no,
bright purple one. Yours is.
I've just swapped out the weapons. That's the proper. I have those weapons too. That's the original ones. Um, that's
Cool.
my. That's the same Slash, because the later one they did do variants later on that had different color belt, like the Masters. That is from Toka. So it's the exact
Yes,
same
he
weapon.
came with the same accessories, and
Yeah, because I've got Toka over there too with his weapons, and that Sai is from some later, I don't know, 10, 20 year later random Raphael. I just gave him. I just swapped out his weapons because I had him so long with the original ones, and I just tried some other weapons in there. But sometimes I'll put him on like on here with Raph on the bike, and it's like, but
I
I
always
just
wanted
love him so much.
that Toka figure just because I remember seeing it in the shops as a kid and
Yeah.
instantly recognizing that it was just Slash with a different head.
Yes,
And
yes, and
straight away I just really wanted it. Like I just love stuff like that. Like I know some
I only
people
got
hate
him
just that blatant reuse. I love it.
like
Like
I've had him since back then when I was a kid, and but I only got the Tocker like a couple years ago, and I recognised too when I got him and went, oh, he's just a redo of him. And I did a whole thing on my blog a couple of years back on one of my various toy blogs. I did do Turtles articles too. Um, I did a whole sort of like history of sequence of there was this and this and this. I showed the figure, both figures, and I showed the animation models in the show, and then I showed what they pinched from being he was a movie character. And the funny thing is they copied this actual figure and repainted it as Tocker, and they didn't even take off like on his belt. He's got skulls and stuff, and he's got this. But if you look at Tocker in the movie, he's not wearing any of that stuff. He's mostly naked,
wow.
so it makes no sense. But then in the Fred Wolf animated show, they did the cell model sheet version of Tocker based not on the movie Tocker, but based on this toy again. Because in the animation, he still has all the belts and the stuff that's Slash. So it's really weird that they did that. It's such a strange. I like it though because it's just kooky and odd.
Yeah. No, I'm a fan of both those figures. Slash is probably
Well,
my favorite. I just
the
always love
head's
the idea of an evil turtle, like the most
the only
evil looking turtle you could get.
true new part was the head. They did a really good head on the Tocker that does look great.
Even just the
Yeah, I got
coloration of the spikes and everything on the shell. It's just a really
yeah.
nice figure. It was one of the first when I started buying the vintage ones again when I got older. He was
Well,
one of he was high on my list because as a kid he was another one of my favorites to have around.
he's still the definitive Slash too, because I don't know. Like I read the Archie comics in the '90s as a kid, and later on the Mirage stuff. But the toy version of Slash was the definitive version. They never showed the animated one was weird. I mean, I'll grab him over here. Oh, things are right behind me. They did like in the NECA one, they did the toon accurate version of Slash, who was a complete moron, and that's just a chainsaw from bloody a wrestling figure. It's not his. um, he was a complete moron, and they gave him a weird cyborg eye thing, and he's quite strange, but he's still kind of cool. And then they had the video game one based on the arcade game, which was based on that
Yes.
original figure again. So he's the same character again. And then, but the proper version by the guy who I forget I always forget the names of the guys, Mirage guys. There's like Dean Clarraine and Ryan Brown and Murphy and all that. That designed these characters. The proper version is this guy. That's the Archie one. That's the actual true Slash. And like if you're going to do new media or a show, that's the version you go to because the old cartoon Slash was just a complete moron that was not based on anything. It was just a nonsense model. But he's got the darker bandana. I didn't realize when they did these. I thought, oh, they'll just repaint him. No, like, he's so
Oh,
beefy.
he's
He's bigger
different.
and
Yeah.
beefier, different sculpt.
Have
And when they
Super
did the
Seven redone this figure?
yes, they
Is there
have
Super?
just recently. I'm
I might
thinking of
actually
getting
try
it.
and pick that up.
It looks great. They've given him two heads too. I think like kind of open mouth, closed, like or more like the grimacing mouth. They give him two heads. And then later on, and they did the IDW comics. Slash is like almost like Incredible Hulk size. He's massive up here, and in the Nickelodeon show too, he was big in that. They did another version of Mutanimals, and he was really cool in that because they were going back to this older, meaner version of Slash. It was just like a real, anti-hero, kick-ass character who starts off as a bad guy, but he's more like the old Frankenstein's monster. He's a bit of an idiot. He's just misunderstood, and he actually teams up with the turtles and saves them. And one of the later Archie stories helps save them from the alien invasion with like the Queen Maligna and all the race of alien bugs that are trying to take over the Earth.
No, he's a cool character.
Yeah.
Definitely a childhood favorite. But I was a bit like you because I had the figure before I ever saw him on screen in the
Yeah, it's
cartoon, and then when I saw him on the cartoon, I was like, oh, this guy, he's a bit of a goof, and he doesn't
he's
really
just an
look as
idiot.
cool as the action figure. But that was something, like you were saying, they after a certain point, they were just had these designers making these
Mm-hmm.
figures, and the guys in the cartoon had no real frame of
Had
reference
no
of what the
relationship
characters
to
were
it.
supposed to
Yeah.
be. Because that was the same, even like with Triceraton and a few other ones. When they would show up in the cartoon, it would just be like they'd just be kind of goofy, or like you were saying, really simplified. It just wasn't what. It's one of those weird things, the way it usually works the other way around. Usually you see something on screen and then you're
Yeah.
disappointed by the toy. Whereas with
Yeah.
Turtles, it
It
was
was the
often the
reverse.
opposite way
It's like
around.
Masters.
The toys are brilliant, but then you watch it on screen, it's like, oh, it's kind of goofy.
It's like the old Masters mini comics, and then they did the Filmation show. It's a very similar relationship where it was more serious and things are more detailed and muscly than the cartoons. Simpler. I didn't know how much they had kind of monkeyed around with some of those later wave figures in the shows because they just turn up in the show in like sort of season 3 through 5 and 6. Some of your later wave characters, your Mutagen Man, your Muck Man, your Mondo Gecko, they turn up in one or sometimes two episodes just to promote the toy because it would have been out of that time, but they're nothing to do with the character. And Nick has done the animated versions, which are nice, but I didn't realize how much they'd really mess around with the idea of the character, because most of them are good guys. Like Muckman's meant to be a good guy. Mondo Gecko was a good guy. He was a hero. In the Archie comics, they formed that Mutanimals with Wingnut, who sometimes he's technically an alien, not a mutant, which quite a few Ninja Turtles characters are aliens. Oh, he's so good.
One of my favorites. Still one of my
He's
childhood
such
favorites.
a beautiful. And I didn't know as a kid, which is funny being like a Batman fan. I had no idea that he was just wearing a loose, ridiculous Batman costume as a kid.
Yes.
I didn't get
It's
that.
hilarious. Like
And
his mask won't even fit over his big nose, like, you know. And of course, he comes with his little sidekick Screw Loose as well, which is cool. I always loved those little minifigures as a kid. I know now as an adult, you're kind of like, well, it's just a piece of plastic that doesn't move. But as a kid, it was an extra character for you to play with.
I think they're decent, and like you can repaint those minifigures too. I still haven't opened this guy. It's been sitting here for at least a month. That's the cartoon version of the NECA Wingnut. I like that the Screw Loose got to be his whole own figure, so I've still got to open that sometime soon. And but I love him. I love the original version. Is brilliant. He was awesome in the Archie.
You know what's cool about that vintage Wingnut is the feet. Yeah. You can actually hang him from a rope really easily, or like hang him from and have him like doing the upside down back thing. Like, yeah, it's pretty cool. They definitely were thinking about that when they designed him.
And Super 7's done a really nice version of him too, where it's the toy version, but they've given him two heads, and the alternate head looks even more like Batman, which is based on pretty much based on the concept art before they did the toy. There was another head that was probably too close to the Batman, where they went, we won't put that out in case there's legal action. But in the new version, it gets two heads that look really, really good. And I love the old file cards where they go on about what the weapons are called. There's this crazy like gun thing, there's grenade, and it's quite horrific. When you get into his origin in the comics, he was a mix of a fruit bat and some other kind of bat. And originally he had wings, and it's because of Krang the Warlord why he doesn't have why he has these robot wings instead of his original ones. Like basically Krang massacred his whole planet, and he's like the last survivor of his planet, like a big genocide. So it's kind of dark Krang, when you get into it.
It is pretty dark. That is pretty. Yeah. I'm just even looking here at the utility belt on the figure. Like there's so much detail on it, even for an old, like a rubber piece of plastic. You've got the sticks of dynamite. You've got the bat face clasp actually holding the belt together. It's really, really nice. You've got another kind of
belt
like
getting gummy. My belt's super getting gummy. And sticky.
Yeah. All my a lot of my vintage turtles now have started to get that gummy, sticky feeling, which actually gets worse the more you clean them.
Yeah, like I mean, the belt's fairly rubbery plastic, whereas he's more. The belt feels rubbery. The rest of the figure is not gummy at all, but some of my other figures are getting gummy on the outside. This is separating of the chemicals, and the plastics and that. But I notice more on the accessories, they get it the worst or earlier. They start to go more sticky and weird.
It must have just been formula of plastic they were using at the time.
To
be honest with you, though, I'd be happier with. Yeah, look, at least it's only gummy plastic, though. At least you're not dealing with disintegrating rubber O-rings and stuff. At least the figures themselves are actually
with hot
staying together,
all melting on your shelf.
Exactly. Yeah.
Turning into
like they've stood the test of time pretty well. Like they've held up pretty well. A lot
I'm
of those
amazed.
figures,
I'm amazed that like Masters, Turtles, Joe, I'm amazed that any of them 30 plus years haven't disintegrated into nothing by now. Or it's pretty amazing because they weren't. The best shelf life 5-10 years at retail. No one's expecting it to go beyond that for a kid to muck around with. But yeah, that's one of my next favorites. The old Baxter Stockman.
And Baxter.
That's the reissue one. I've got my original ones over there too, so that's why his chest is nice and white. On my original one, he's all yellowed on here, which has nothing to do with the sun. It's just the aging of the plastic because he's always been most of the time in the dark. And it's funny when they did the reissue, he's still really nice, but they cheaped that like on here, paint on the back, no paint on there.
Yeah, I was just noticing that when you were showing that, it was just all one color. I actually went and the little Baxter here.
he's got a little hypodermic needle tucked in his pocket, and on the original one that's painted, but here it's just plain white plastic. But they cheaped out on the
there's the vintage. You can see they actually painted the individual
check out, see where the
recesses.
little needle is on his chest?
Yes, that's colored on the vintage.
Yeah, see, it's
needle.
not painted. And the same with his little electric fly swatter accessory. That's like more plain. And the strangest thing is that the wings, and this is like just like bloody nerd bait here, because I've still got my original one. I had them next to each other. I went, what's going on? I noticed the paint straight away. They're a different size and shape. Like the arms are slightly less long.
I'm looking because I'm looking at your screen and I'm looking down at mine. I can even see that. Yeah, I can see the difference even just as you're holding
I'm
up.
guessing they lost. I'm guessing they were. They actually list these as rotocast figures when I bought them. I bought them in a box set of 6 figures. I'm guessing this piece they lost the mold for and had to redo it, and that's why it's. I'm just guessing that's why it's different. It doesn't.
I'd say that's a fair guess. They've lost the mold.
It doesn't make any difference to the aesthetics of him. He's still really nice, but when I had both of them in hand, I was looking at it, going, am I just getting senile? What's going on? What am I noticing here? I went, proportions are slight, and I went, stuff it. I'll get me little tape measure over here. I've got a miniature tape measure. It's perfect for toys. And I actually went, I'll measure him, and I went, just because I wanted to know. My eyes, I was like having an optical illusion, or am I just too tired? I went, no, they're actually different length and shape and size. And like this thing I found in the park one day when I was walking.
What a find.
I nearly tripped over it. It's just a miniature version of a normal size tape measure. Like that's a brand you can buy here. But it's great because if you want to measure, like, is that a 5-inch or 10-inch and you want to list something on eBay, it's good. And I just keep it just over there next to me Masters stuff. But yeah, he's a great figure. And the General Trag and Baxter, they were the first 2 Ninja Turtle figures I ever bought for myself that weren't gifted to me by family at Christmas or birthday. I went to the store. I saved up 3 weeks pocket money. I went in. I was going to buy like Raphael or Mikey or whatever, and I picked them up on the peg, and I was looking at them, going, "Oh yeah, I'll get a turtle." Then I saw these guys, and I'm like, "Look at all the cool details on them and the weird stuff." And I was just looking at them. I didn't even know. I don't think I'd seen them in the show at that point. I just saw the figure and went, "These guys are so cool. I'm going to buy one of these over the turtles, even though I love the turtles."
How crazy is it that General Trag has like a bloody bullet wound in his shoulder?
So,
it's
yeah. It's like a wound, and also because he's a rock man, it also can be a miniature volcano.
Yes. Yeah. I also love on the sole of one of his feet. There's like a squished turtle, isn't there?
He's got like a little skull in there, like a rabbit skull in there. He's got a spider crawling up his arm there. He's got a snake going around his leg there. And on his back, he's got a cobweb and like a little newt or a skink or something crawling up there. I really hope they do this in the Super 7 line, because then they'll paint all these little guys and bigger. That they're just amazing stuff they put in there. And like this guy, he just makes me think of like Sergeant Rock and all those old, like all the Thing in Marvel comics. Like he's a rock dude, but he's a soldier, and he's just so cool. And I can't believe they never made he was in the show a reasonable amount, along with Granitor, who was the grey guy with the pointy nose, and they were both in the video games as bosses. But they never did the generic rock soldier troopers. I'm like, how do you got foot soldiers, but you didn't do the rock soldier troopers? Come on.
It was such a missed opportunity, definitely.
Yeah.
I hope they actually they reissue him for the retro line. He would be a good pick to do a reissue. And if they do reissue him, I hope they actually keep all the paint, because that figure has a lot of paint apps, like individual colors, and even his little symbol, the little logo and stuff. Yeah, it's really detailed.
Shock logo. I've got 2 or 3 of this guy, because they don't do the rock soldier. I buy multiples of this guy so he can troop build himself. And that little, that's a sticker on there, that logo. I had one the other day. Like I've had one since childhood, and I've got about 2 or 3 other ones, and I'm trying to get some more to make a whole little troop of them. But I boiled one in boiling hot water the other day, and then I scrubbed it with a toothbrush just to get the dust and muck off it because it came from eBay. And that little sticker didn't move at all. I thought if it floated off, I'd go, don't care, he's going to be a trooper, and the leader can have the symbol. But it didn't move at all. It's like they just did such good quality on that, like the little stickers and the paint and everything.
You can see the craftsmanship in a lot of those
Mm.
molds. They really went out of their way to produce something that just looked really good. And I know people will look at them now and compare them to modern figures, and I know the articulation is basic, but you know what? The sculpts are beautiful and the paint is beautiful, so
Well,
they
it's
look brilliant.
the same reason you could, well, with joy or criticism. I mean, this is a modern Origins. That's a He-Man with the Ultimate Warrior head on it. But the same criticism, because they had the squat poses. They didn't have much in the way of articulation. Most of them fell over, but you didn't care because you're playing with them and you're smashing them around, putting them on blanket fortresses and bean bags if you didn't have a castle and that, and mucking them. You didn't give a shit. You weren't trying to pose them. You're throwing them around the room with your mates as a kid, you know.
Yeah, and when you weren't playing with them, they were on the floor or in a box.
Yeah, on the
You
floor.
didn't
Yeah,
need them. You didn't need them to stand
yeah.
up and
You
hold
didn't
the
need to
pose.
stand up. They weren't flying around. I mean, they have vehicles in both lines, but they weren't flying around in GI Joe realistic vehicles. They were nonsense vehicles that nobody, just like Masters, they didn't fit in the fucking vehicles properly, and you couldn't move the legs to get them to sit in the stupid vehicles.
Yeah, the legs were always they were always the kind of worst part for getting them into any type
Yeah,
of sitting position. I know for a fact you probably have this guy, do you?
I don't. I've been
The
after him for ages. I've got the Super 7 one, but I still don't have the vintage one because it costs so bloody much to get secondhand loose in Australia. I've been chasing it for years. I'll get there eventually because I'm about 3 figures away from completing the first 3 waves or so.
Yeah, my guy, I do have his gun as well. It's on the floor somewhere, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'd actually, if I was going to get another Super 7 figure, he would probably be on my
He
list. I
was an
know they
amazing,
did
really
the glow
good
in the
release
dark
from
one as
that.
well.
Good release from him, and that he would probably be on my top 5 if I always wanted him as a kid. I have played with him as a kid because I had a friend who, like I guess his parents had more money, or just he was one of those spoilt little shits. He had every figure of every wave for the first 4 waves. So I'd go to his house after school and play with them all, and go home and go, like, "Here's my 3 figures. I want those ones." I love all the floaty bits. If you put the water in those floating aquarium kind of bits they put inside them.
Yeah, and I think when you got the figure originally, now I could be remembering this wrong. I think they all came on a sprue, and you then
Yes, they did.
took
They
them
did.
off individually
Yeah,
and put them in. Because when I bought this
and
one, the previous owner still had them. They're still shaking around inside, you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
So
Do you know what's a good laugh? They did the Super 7 version, right? And some people got it and they didn't know you should not put water in that one because it ruins it.
yeah,
Because
modern
the
toys
parts
aren't
are
made
there.
for that stuff.
Yeah, all the same parts are there, but if you put water in, it really stuffs it up and they get stuck in the side. It's like, don't do it. It amazes me they do these great gimmicks in the Turtles and all the Masters. Like, there's so many cool gimmicks, and it's like, oh, we can't do gimmicks. You fucking can do gimmicks. You just don't want to, you lazy corporations.
Playmates though, they're so cheap with some of the reissues.
Mm,
Like I watched the Gojitron review where he reviewed the villain set that this guy came with. They don't even they don't give him any accessories in the reissue. He just
yeah,
comes like
yeah.
this with nothing. And that's
Like,
purely because they felt that they already spent enough because he is a pretty, you know, he's got clear plastic and a few other bits. They're like, well,
yeah.
we're just not going to spend any more money and we're not going to put his
No, they've
accessories in, which
cheaped
I
out.
think is really
Cheaped
bad.
out
It's
on.
really, really bad.
They've cheaped out on the reissues all the way with paint, the accessories, this and that, the quality of the plastic, the colours of the turtles, like the hang on. So that's the Leonardo and that, and the colours of them are just a bit off, and like you can't tell on that one because that's actually my vintage RAF I've had for 30 years, and I put them in that package one day when I was bored. I just
Right.
put them in there. I did a little comparison photos. The original one of RAF is like quite like a primary green, and then and you see the reissue, and it's almost like this kind of sickly like if you've had a bit too much to drink kind of green. It
Yes,
just looks a bit weird.
the reissue color green on the RAF reminded me like if you had a photo and you took the saturation down a bit,
Yes,
so you don't have as strong a
exactly.
color.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like faded
Yeah.
it on purpose.
But the accessories are decent though on the reissues. Like I found they were like quite flexible, and the plastic was reasonable on the accessories. But they've really cheaped out on them, and like Playmates has dropped the ball. Like they did that Rise of the Turtles line that show a few years back that wasn't terribly popular. Like I thought it was well animated, like on a technical level on that. But the toys, they tried to add some articulation, but they went at weird angles. They wouldn't stand. And then since that line, they've really dropped the ball budget wise and what they've been putting out, and they've just left it to NECA and Super 7 doing stuff to sort of innovate and do anything. And they did those Cobra Kai ones, they did all crossovers, but they were just reissues of a decade plus old classics figures.
Yes, they don't like making new molds at all,
No,
Playmates. That's one thing that's
but
clear. They do not want to invest money in new molds. They
yeah,
will
that's
keep on reusing. I think it was 2012 those classics originally came out, and they've kept reusing and
yeah.
reusing
Well,
those molds. They just won't
the
stop using
vintage,
them.
yeah, 100% right. And the vintage reissues of the original Turtles they've been doing for like about 20 years now. Every 5 years or so, they crap them out again, and they sometimes you get the soft head or a solid head, and sometimes like the Bebop and the Rocks, the Bebop face, the colors are bizarre on the reissue. They're really weird looking.
Main thing that bothers me about that reissue Bebop is they didn't paint his trainers. The original always had red trainers, and now it's just all
Yeah,
black the whole way down. They just haven't painted. There's lots of details on them that they haven't painted. It just looks really kind of, washed out and just not as good
yeah, yeah.
as the
And
original. But I
the
think a
strange,
lot of that it's kind of because if you're someone who's just in a toy shop and maybe you're just kind of casually there, you might not be there
you
to
wouldn't know.
specifically buy.
You wouldn't know the
You'd
difference.
see that and you might go, oh, it's just like what I had as a kid.
Yeah,
But then when you actually get it in hand, you'd be looking at it kind of going, this really actually isn't what I had as a kid.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
not as good,
The strange thing is the same company, Playmates. I mean, they did fantastic stuff through the 90s, like Earth, Wind, German, all Toxic Avengers. They did so many cool toy lines. And even a couple of years back, they did Playmates Voltron Combiner, which I've got. It's up there. That's why I was looking. They did the classic 80s style one, and it's got 30 different voice clips that yells out at you. And then they did a Netflix Voltron. I've got both of them. They both combined. Fantastic quality toys. Not as fancy as the big $500-$600 ones, but if you want one that just looks like a plastic toy you can play with and move the limbs, and they're awesome. I love them. I've got them up there next to my Titan Transformers and dinosaurs, and fantastic product. And yet they're cheap out on the Turtles, which has been their big money maker for so many years.
Wonder is it because they kind of know it's like a guaranteed sale almost.
Yeah, I
They'll
think
put
so.
the effort in. It's like
Well,
they'll get the nostalgia guy who'll just be like, oh, I want that thing I had as a
yeah.
kid. So
Well,
they cheap out a little bit.
I guess the other thing is if you follow. I mean, I don't know who the hell works at Playmats, and I never have. I only know like back in the day, you had the guy that was the go-between between the Mirage guys who said, "Let's do a toy line of this," and then you had the comic other Mirage family of comics guys who worked on the designs of the toys and the sketches that they turned into stuff. But and then you had I don't know who worked on say the Nickelodeon area, but they did some great toys and for that show and the 2002 show, they're decent line. But after that, since then, who knows who's working on what? But the quality hasn't been there since that Nickelodeon show, which was a big, expansive line that ran for 6 or 7 years. A rarity for modern mainstream kids shows to actually have that lengthy span. They did the small turtles, the gimmicks, the shells, the giant size ones, the spinny fire pizza ones, vehicles, just like Masters. But since then, they haven't really had anyone innovating, do anything different. The quality's gone down. So I'm not too hopeful for any kind of retail line now. Like I did pick up some of these other ones. Like these are not great.
Those are all
Like
over here at the moment. There's a whole like aisle in
yeah,
Smith's kind of dedicated to them because of that new movie.
like I bought one and I took it out of the package to see what it's like, and I just went, the arms don't move well, the legs, like they've kind of gone fake articulation like they did with the Rise of the Turtles line, where it looks like it can do stuff, but it can't actually pose or do anything. They should have
It
just
looks
kept
like
them
there's
more
a cut in
simpler.
the arm, but then if you actually move the arm, it just breaks.
Yeah, it just makes them at weird angles that no living thing would be at. They should have kept the simpler thing and focused on a better sculpt. So I bought one. It was fairly crappy, and I went, "Oh, he's not terrible." And I was in the store going, "I'm not going to buy that." I went back next week. I'm not buying that. Third week in a row, I went, if I don't buy them, I'm going to see them on fucking eBay a year from now at stupid prices, and I'll be like, so I'm actually keeping these ones in the package. I do like the logo. I like the purple, and I've got all four of them on the wall now, and I'm actually going to leave them in there. And in a couple of years, I might open them, or I might just like give them away, or if anyone actually wants the damn thing.
Not you in the end, though. You just couldn't keep going back and seeing it looking at you.
Yeah, it was at my local store. It was at the store that was a 40-minute drive away, and then they got them at the local store as well. And I was walking past them each week going, there was a bunch of stuff in that Nickelodeon line that I wasn't into buying Turtle stuff then. So I just ignored it. And then I got into it right as it ended, not knowing that it was ending at the minute I was getting into it. So most of them I picked up secondhand from the Nickelodeon line. And some I got good prices, some I paid a bit too much for, some I never got at all. And I went, okay, if they do some weird mutants, there's some kind of mutant fly backstalking thing in that line. I might get that if it comes out because they haven't released that yet. If they do other weird mutants and side characters, I might get them because the Nickelodeon line did heaps of cool side characters. They did like bloody Baxter in a robot suit. They did a Squirrelinoid and a weird kind of plant character, and they did Shredder and gold armor. Lots of cool just side characters and odd stuff in that line.
Yeah, no, and it's like you're saying, it's only really in the last few years that they've really kind of dropped the ball, because for a while they were putting out really good lines, and like you mentioned earlier, like that 2002 line had a lot of really good stuff. I actually still have the giant turtles and a few of the other kind of wackier variants they released. I don't have them on display because I don't have the space, but they are good figures. So the quality was still there even back then. I just think that they've kind of, it's like I was saying, they just kind of cheaped out, and they just want to, they know they've got a hot product that will sell. So they're not really too worried about putting out a quality product, because they just know they're going to ship all the units anyway.
Like they have, historically, Playmates has done really good stuff, and they've actually been consistently good at making good turtle stuff that's a toy kids can play with, but it's still, if you've been around the long term, you like the sculpts, you're not trying to pose them, you like there's an interesting weird character. They've done good stuff down the line, but they have really dropped the ball in the modern times with it. And they have done, probably the best thing they've done recently is like the turtle van for the Mutant Mayhem looks decent. I might get that. And they did a play set for that actually looks pretty decent. It's not anywhere in Australia, but weirdly, I watched a video review that was by an Australian. It was one of the first in the world. So I don't know where he got it from because there's not any fucking stores there. But that playset's actually pretty good. And also in the Rise of the Turtles toy line, the figure quality, like I've got most, they cancelled that line after 2 waves. I've got most of them. The quality is not great. I don't hate the figures. They're okay. But the playset was fantastic. And I've got that back behind me. That's my main thing, because it's got 1, 2, 3, 4 tiers, and they improved on the design of the previous Nick playset, where you've got all these levels, but they've got big wide space display stuff. It's got gimmicks and stuff that moves, arcade games, a twisting tunnel sewer entrance exit. But the plastic quality was really good and thick and strong, and it's a good playset for kids. It's a good display base. Instead of just having a shelf, it's just a massive playset. And I've got I think I've got an extra one of it out the back. I missed it at retail by 2 weeks. It was on sale when it was out and couldn't get it. My missus found it for me online, got it for me for Christmas back when it was out. And I love that set. It's my first real playset I've ever had. Didn't have Grayskull as a kid. Didn't have any other big playsets. So getting that Rise one was fantastic. And since then, I've somehow got not 1, not 2, but 3 of the damn things. And the other 2 I got for basically nothing. I got one absolutely for free from a friend who was a long time collector. He's at least 10 years older than me. He's actually well, I won't give anyone's private details away, but I will say he is the one of the biggest private collectors of vintage Barbie dolls in the country. And I used to, when I lived in the city 20 years ago, I used to go and get my hair cut, and when I'd sit and talk about toys, he'd have the old vintage 60s G.I. Joe and Barbie on display in his living room in fantastic big details. And just so you know, it's not Tony or Analog Toys, but it is a friend of his that he knows that lives in Perth. Just so, just because some
Don't
people
worry.
will work it out based on that. And he's a fantastic guy, but I'm not going to say private stuff about him. Just other than he's an awesome guy. But he gave me that set just last year, and I hadn't seen him for nearly 15 years, and I managed to get in touch with him again. And he knows I like Turtles crap, and he's like, "Oi, come and take this stuff off my head. It's in the way, and I want to get rid of it. No one wants it on eBay." So he gave me one for free, and I picked up another one for about $10-20 where I drove a few towns away, someone else. And I'm going to try and do I'm not good at customizing stuff, but I've got them in the garage at the back. When I do my next shelf behind me, I'm going to try and combine two of the sets and try and get them next to each other and make it an extended set together.
That'd be pretty cool.
Mm.
I think when it comes to those sewer play sets, the sewer play set, it's almost like an evergreen type of play set because they've released, since the original Vintage Playmates one right up until now, nearly every time they do a new Turtles line, they'll do a sewer play set. And the beauty of the sewer setting is you don't really, it kind of goes with any version of Turtles. Like you could take that newest play set and put your vintage Turtles on them and they wouldn't look out of place. They'd look
exactly
like they belonged. So I think that I don't think I've ever actually seen a bad sewer play set of any of the versions they've put out.
I agree with that because I do have the I've got the Rise play set. I've never had the vintage one. I always wanted it, and I do have the Nickelodeon era one. Had several tiers and a cardboard backer thing. I've got several of that out the back as well. I used to have that up before I swapped to this one, and it even uses some of the same ports on like the street lights and lampposts. So actually, you can pull them off and cram them onto the new one. It's got the same ports on there if you want to try and Frankenstein different sets together.
Like when we were having our chat with Badger, when we were having our chat with Badger a couple of weeks ago, he told us that story about, was it Christmas or a birthday, where he got up and his dad had put the vintage sewer play set together for him and had all his figures already on display. That just sounded cool. That's the type of thing you just love to wake up to as a kid.
That'd be amazing. I always wanted that bloody the original playset, but I never had, like, when we were kids, like I had like 1-2 Masters figures. I had 3 Transformers ever in like a decade because they were just expensive and we were fairly poor. Turtles was the only line ever where I had more than 2 figures of a licensed thing. All my other toys were just random, whatever toys, a random toy car or Hot Wheels or Matchbox or whatever. So getting those Turtles figures for Christmas and birthdays, and then the ones I bought myself, I went from having 3 to maybe 10 figures. And I used to have them on this little plastic table that was orange with the legs, and it was actually, it fit between the door and my bed. And all my Turtles figures, I slept next to them for like years and years. They were right next to my head when I was sleeping. And my whole wall was covered with Turtles, newspaper clippings and magazine clippings. Any friend or relative that saw a magazine and went, "Here, John, have this thing from the magazine," that went on the wall.
Oh, you're a proper super fan.
Yeah, that was the thing that I just went nuts for as a kid. Like I can still have vivid memories of being that age, having the trading cards, the figures, the soap, the bubble bar.
Did you ever come across these two when you were a youngster?
I did. I was trying to get them forever. I finally got what's his name, the ball guy last year. I still can't
ball
get
guy is Ground Chuck, and I
always mix up the names. I've got the big knitted cartoon ones over there to open this week in the 2-pack of them, and they're such great characters. Like there's some other favorite. I like they put them in the Revenge of Shredder video game as bosses, and they're like a kind of tag team like Bebop and Rocksteady. And the ball guy was also in one of the old Nintendo games, Turtles 2 or 3. He's a boss in that. And I did another.
They show up together in an episode of the old TV show as well
yes,
as an actual pair.
Yeah, I did when I finally got the figure of the bull about a year or two ago for the first time. He's such a beautiful figure, and he's kind of loosely based around Bullseye from Marvel Comics.
Yes, and I often call him Bullseye just out of
that was one of the
confusion,
names.
my mind kind of goes there, like, you know,
Well,
and especially when you look at that face. Like, what else would you name a character with that face?
When I got the figure, I did an article showing basically any media from ever, the cartoon, the video game, concept art. He actually was called Bullseye in the concept art. But they obviously didn't release it as that for legal reasons.
Yeah, it's a bit too close for comfort, I'd say, on the legal side of things. I always thought, like, Dirtbag always had a really nice design with the kind of camo dungarees and, you know, like one shoe on and stuff. Like, I just thought he was a really cool looking figure. He was actually, I don't know if you remember, when we were having the talk with Badger, I mentioned when my sister took me to see the Ninja Turtles movie. We went to the toy shop afterwards, and she got me a figure. This was actually the figure she got me. Was Dirtbag.
Oh, nice.
So
he's one of my other all-time favorites. Even though I've never owned it, I've been craving it since back then. The last one I saw on eBay last year, someone wanted about $30 Australian for one that was missing its bloody head and no accessories, and I went, no. So I've been trying.
I got so lucky when it came to picking up a lot of the vintage figures a few years ago, because for years I kept on telling myself, look, you love these old figures, you're going to have to start picking up a few of them before the prices start going wild.
Do you know what stuff?
And I was looking around eBay, and I saw there was the turtle van, and the guy who was selling the van, it was missing a load of accessories, but he had it said in the listing that there was like a few figures thrown in with it. And I was looking at the pictures, and I could see maybe like 4 or 5 figures along with the van. And it was like a reasonable amount he was asking for. It was like 30 something quid at the time. I was like, yeah, I'll just buy this lot. When it arrived, the van was in the box. The few figures I saw in the pictures were in the box. But when I opened the lid of the van, there was like 10 other figures crammed inside the van. There was like a foot soldier, a shredder.
Did he know they were in there?
Loads of just characters that I actually really wanted. So straight away, I almost had like this instant collection of figures. So that kind of was my base to then build outwards. Because like for 30 something quid, I got like, you know, the van and maybe 14 figures. So real lucky there, really lucky.
Yeah.
Now you'd be lucky. You'd be lucky just to get the van for that price now, with no accessories.
The thing that really stuffed me up on getting the more of the vintage ones and filling out the ones that I started buying as a kid, because I had a few as a kid I bought, and then when I was about 15, high school age, I had one of my best friends gave me a bunch, so I got probably about 5 or 6 more figures for free, including Mondo Gecko and some other ones. I had that. I think it's called. Is it called Killer Bee? The big crazy bee. Sorry, not the bee. The mosquito, the needle nose.
Yes.
With the big,
yes.
I had that for years.
The jaggedy nose.
And that was like a vehicle / mount, and that was a really cool piece. But I actually gave it away to someone a couple of years ago because I didn't have space for it at the time, which is ironic considering all the shit that's around me now. But I gave it away to someone.
And I bet you that's expensive now, isn't it, to get online on second
I don't care about that. But I sent it to a good home. I basically gave it for postage price to someone, and he put it in a DTOF and sent me a picture, and I went, I'm happy. Because it fantastic sculpt. It was a cool thing. I was just never really into the vehicles, and none of the characters really went with it, so it didn't make sense. So I didn't. Plus, I got it for free from a friend, so I didn't mind sort of letting it go. But a friend gave me some years ago as a teenager, and then there's a big gap of more than a decade where I didn't, before eBay came along, and then I started hunting some down on eBay for reasonable prices. You could usually get loose ones for like $20, $30 maybe. You can still get them now for that price, no accessories. But the American prices are good, Australian prices are garbage, and the main reason I haven't filled out those other waves just to the characters I wanted. I cherry picked the ones I want, never been completed, so I just want certain mutants. The bloody Necker is what stuffed me. The stuff that's sitting behind me. When they started making those cartoon figures and the live action movie, if I hadn't been buying those at the same time, I could have easily completed all the vintage ones I wanted, even if I overpaid for some of them, just getting the loose uncarded figures. So that's what really stuffed me up. And now the prices have gone even up again, even though there's loads of the damn loose figures around all over the place.
I was the same with the NACA. It kind of put a pause on my vintage buying, and then there was about a year where I was solely dedicated to picking up the NACA stuff. I even sold a load of my Star Wars stuff just so I could get the space and the money together to get
I've got
the.
no regrets.
I think when
they're
the
nice
four turtles, then I think the way I bought them was each turtle came packed with a villain, so it was like Michelangelo and Raphael both came with foot soldiers. Then I think Leonardo came with Shredder and Krang came with Donatello. So those were like the first sets I got. And then gradually NECA started just releasing a little more, like Bebop,
Yeah.
Rocksteady. I think Gogitron sent me Splinter and
He's-
Baxter. They
he's
came in a
stuffed you. He
2
sent
pack.
your Origins, he sent your Turtles.
Yeah, oh yeah. And then I picked up the Pizza Monster, the 2 rock guys we mentioned earlier, Trag and Granador.
Yeah.
But
I was
I'm
so happy
kind
they
of
made those guys.
I'm happy enough kind of now, I think, where I am with the NECA ones. I have Casey Jones in April as well. So I've all the kind of main characters. So I think I'm kind of ready now to go back looking at vintage stuff again and just leave the NECA stuff for because the thing about NECA is, and it's not just with Turtles, they do this, if you're into anything and they start doing a line on it, they're always really good at just putting out stuff that you really want to get. And it's always kind of stuff you've been thinking about for a while that you really want. It's like they can read your mind sometimes. So I think I need to pause on the NECA stuff for the time being and just go back, because I would still like to eventually at some point, if I can find one for an affordable price, I do still want to get a vintage Technodrome. Like, it's something that's been kind of eating away at me now for a while.
Yeah, I've always.
And anytime I see them, if I do see one for like a reasonable price, it's always wrecked, and I mean wrecked, like missing everything. The shell is gone yellow. It's like fucking, there's just like, it's just not worth it. And then when I see one that does have in good condition, they're just asking crazy money for it. So I'm looking for that sweet middle spot. Even if I could get one that had most of the accessories and was still in good condition, but not a crazy price, and then I could either fix it up or just leave it as is. But at some point, I will have to fill that gap.
Yeah, I always wanted the bloody Technodrome. I wanted the Turtle Van and that sewer plate. Never had any of those, and any of the reissues have never been terribly affordable. Like, well, no, the Turtle Van has done a reissue that is affordable, even on sale. But when I finally saw what it looked like, I was like, it's kind of lacking in a lot of things. And I got one from one of the later lines. I think the Nickelodeon era. They've done Turtle Vans in every line. I've got one from one of those lines. I got super cheap at a local shop, and it looks enough like the idea of the old Turtle Van that I was happy with that one and didn't really care. But yeah, I'd still like a Technodrome. I've got the bloody Mega Bloks Technodrome that I haven't put together because it's over 1,000 pieces, and the instructions are terrible. Not like Lego has numbered bags. Mega Bloks don't number anything, and the box is like, it's so heavy and big, and it just sits out there, and I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, so they make you complete a puzzle first on working out what everything actually is before you can even begin to build.
It's like doing a 1,000-piece puzzle where everything's blue or grey. The Technodrome's all grey, and like, if I do it, based on, I've watched a time lapse video of other people built, you need about a week. If you're working any kind of job, you need about a week in your spare time. You need a big flat surface that's like big as a dinner table or bigger, to lay it all out. Because if you move any of it, forget it. You're just going to mix it up and it's not going to come together. So I might get to building it one day. I don't know. If I was living by myself and not with a partner, then I could have done it. But if you've got a partner or family or kids, forget about it. You've got logistics of daily living to deal with.
Real life humans come first.
Yes. Before blocks of plastic.
Yeah, we just have to make that allowance in our life, that the actual biological beings in our life are treated better than our plastic
Well,
toys.
the irony is we have a massive backyard. We have a big old the garage leaks like crazy, so the water comes in, can't go in there. Big backyard, but it's windy as hell. And if you can't put blocks, are just going to go flying everywhere. You need like if you had an outdoor area with it was kind of sectioned off with the walls, and they could sit out there and just build a bit, leave it. It's like if you're painting something or doing modeling miniatures, you need somewhere where you're not going to get fumed and gassed out and gas out your kids and family if you're painting stuff to leave it sitting out the back for a while.
So, what would you say then, Johnny, if you were to put it out there right now? Like, what would be your top 5 of these mutants we discussed today?
Well, these are my top 2, the Trag and Baxter, because I bought them as a kid, and I just love them because they're so bizarre. Wingnut didn't get to later on, but saw my friend's one, so he's in there. Triceratops would have been in there, but I never had him back then, so he can't count. So it has to come down
we
to
can
the other guys.
we can still count them. Yeah, Metalhead's badass.
Just that gold and the green and the light piping, and like you're trying to torture a light in that little brain thing, and his eyes light up amazingly well.
Awesome figure.
And of course,
awesome
Slash.
So
they're
cool.
the best guys.
Triceratops and Slash are definitely my top 2, I would say. Don't know if I
love that
pick
orange. That orange is so
one.
good.
They're so vibrant. Both figures are actually so vibrant.
Yeah.
I think that's why I like them so much. But I suppose you could probably say that about most of the line. It was just the character designs and colors were just off the chart.
Yeah, just like Masters. So much like stuff like the What Got Me Masters over there, and the greens and the bloody skeleton men and snake men. They just stand out so well. Little Whiplash.
I was out playing with mine yesterday. I got a couple of snaps of him. I'd actually had him for ages without opening them. Do you ever do that where you just kind of forget that you bought something and it's just sitting there?
Some certain stuff, like any of that Origin stuff, every single one I've opened the day I got it, because I didn't really have Masters as a kid. I had 2 or 3 figures, and that was it. One was Whiplash, actually. I had Whiplash, Battle Armor, He-Man, and then one day I found a dirty Skeletor in a public park. Which is not some kind of euphemism. I actually found a figure
like an Origin Skeletor.
No. When I was a kid back in the 80s, I found
right.
Battle Armor
Okay.
Some poor kid had been playing with it, had left it in the park that was there where I was living, and I found it. And the moment I picked it up, I feel just like if I find someone's wallet or some cash, I look around and go, "Is anyone here? Have they dropped it? Do you want it back? Here it is." There was nobody for like bloody kilometer or so, so I got to keep it. But he was banged up, but he was Battle Armor Skeletor. He's supposed to have scratches and banged up.
Yeah, just one of those random happenstances. It was meant to be.
Yeah.
You were meant to
It was
find
so random. And the funny thing is that's become one of my favorite figures in the Origins, is the Battle Armor He-Man and Skeletor. And I got that 2-pack one that came with the Caldor, where he's got the kind of dual eyes head. And the 2002 body, I've tried that head on every version they've done in the Origin so far, Skeleton. And that's my favorite combo. Like, he just goes so well on that slightly different shade of blue. He's got the extended skirt down here. And I've done a lot of part swaps. I mean, that's just a head swap. But all the Skeletors I've had in Origins, and I've tried all the heads on every version of the ones they've done, and the flying arms and the terror claws and whatever the hell else they did. I've swapped them all to see how they looked, and probably the Skeletors have been my favorite figures in that line. Just to mess
that Rise of Evil 2-pack alternate head is probably the best Skeletor head they ever put out.
Yeah, it's so good. I'm looking at it now, and the light just reflects it's like it glows and it stares into your soul.
Yeah, it's definitely the most evil looking of all the Skeletor faces they put out as well. He looks properly menacing, and I think they did a good job. It looked like it kind of came off to, oh, I love this guy. Oh
That's the
yeah.
2002 head one they did, where he's got a very thick cowly
Yes.
thing on there. But he's cool, and I've got two of him. Like I bought, like that's
And is
his
that just
body,
like
but he's
is that a Man at Arms body he's on, or what
yeah,
buff
yeah,
did
it's
you
just a
use
man at
for the?
arms body. But I'm gonna see how it's a darker blue on that one, and it's a lighter blue because that's just a regular, everyday Amazon Kmart skeletal armor. But I've got
Uh-huh.
two of this guy, so I'm gonna swap the darker purple armor onto that green body at some point when I take him out again. But I don't mind buying extra Skeletors or He-Mans if they're on sale down there, and just to get the extra armor and bits and swap them around.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. It's one of those things. I thought these figures would be maybe a lot more available for longer than they were. At the beginning,
Yeah.
I would have liked to have gotten maybe a couple of Fakers and a couple of extra
Hmm.
Skeletors,
Yeah, that'd be nice.
especially just for mixing them. I'd like to do like a battle armor Faker. That's something I've had in my
Hmm.
mind to do for a while. I think that would look cool.
I've seen that on the Hebrew channel. He does all sorts of cool part swaps and customs from different lines, and does some cool ideas. And he did a battle armor faker.
And then even some of the guys, the way like, we often complain about these Mattel Creations exclusives of like One Door and guys like that. But like
Yeah, I can't get
if you
any of them.
wanted, you could just buy a few random bucks and then put your own One Door together if you really wanted
Yes,
to. Like,
that's true.
I just wish, like I was saying, I just wish I had been thinking ahead at the time a couple of years ago, and I would have bought extras of a few different figures just so I could do stuff
Yeah,
like that.
I still want to get some more. I like my green Skeletor, which actually it was the Hebrew channel where he came up with the idea of just that green and a Skeletor head, but a different version of that one. I want to get another man at arms so he can have his original body back, because he's up there riding that bloody jet ski thing, but he's got a blue Skeletor body. It looks quite bizarre. Yeah, I'd
Yeah,
like
he
to get some
deserves.
of him.
You could buy do you have an Attorney in Palace guard? Were they
No, because they
available
were
over
never
there?
available here. Never available. I see they've released a second and even possibly a third version of that, and it's on BBTS. So I'm going to try and get some if they can ship my damn stuff. I can finally get the You got the Palace Guard version, and then they've done another. I think they've done a couple of. They've done a new version of Man at Arms where he's got a darker green body, but you can still swap it around with the Palace Guards if you want to. So hopefully I can pick up one of those various versions, which are not really due till the end of the year or even next year.
Is it
Like the
easier for
version
you to
3.
get from? Is it easier to get stuff from America, or is
Yes.
Europe an option for you as well? Is Europe any
Oh,
good to you?
I've bought some stuff from Europe. I've bought stuff from America and Europe. Like I've had probably, I think, three or five figures from Australia out of 50. The rest of them have all been from Europe and America and have been double retail or more. They cost more than a Masterverse figure for me to get the damn
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. The
But I do
shipping
love
always
them.
kills you,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Well, just the price of the figure, even without the shipping. The shipping's still on top of that. But yeah, absolutely, the shipping kills it. But there's so many good fun ones for doubles and part swaps and that. Like I'll grab these guys over here. Because for a figure and a character I knew nothing about, this guy's become one of my favourites.
Oh, Clamp Champ, Champ the
Yeah.
Clamp.
So that's the regular Origins one. And I recently picked up a second one because my other guy's on here.
Yeah, that looks cool and Stridor. Oh, and you made him into like a He-Man as well, did you?
Yeah. I
Like, or
just
like
put
the
the He-Man.
He-Man style. Yeah, that looks cool. That looks
He's
cool.
just mostly naked with the He-Man like vest armor thing on. And they've got the same head, but I've now got four heads if you can't, because there's two figures. I got the spare head, so I still want to pick up. I don't have the Sunman, but if I get a Sunman, I'll definitely put one of the spare heads of him on him,
Yeah,
because I
that
saw a
would
few
look
people
good.
have done that. It looks real nice.
Yeah, my Clamp Champ is like dueling with my Clawful at the moment. That's where I have them on
Mm-hmm.
display because he's got his big hook thing or his big claw thing, and obviously Clawful has a big claw. So the two of them are just like doing dueling claws on the shelf.
Yeah, I really want the other bloody. I don't know the name of the horse, but in the vintage line, it was like Fisto was on that horse and Jitsu was on the other recolor.
Oh,
So
Night Stalker.
I really want that other
That's
bloody
the one.
horse because that's one of the nicest things they've done in that Origins line, and I was able to get that for a reasonable price.
Yeah, Night Stalker looks nice, and I have I was actually saying to the gym there recently in our chat, like I have a kind of special place in my heart for Night Stalker because that was one of the few vintage Motu toys I actually had back in the day.
Yeah.
And I just always thought he looked cool, like a big black robotic horse. You can't really go wrong with that.
No.
Even if you didn't want to use it for He-Man, like ours, like those characters, you could stick any character in it. It'd look pretty cool.
Well, I've been hanging out for them to make that damn other horse, and I've even been looking at like the old Matty Classics version on eBay for crazy prices, and thinking about going, no, just wait. Hopefully they'll make the bloody thing. I did pick up
no, it's coming.
I did pick up a second Origins Castle last month. So I've got two of them, and I want to have a go at like making like a super castle where if you get if you open them both up and then put them long ways, sort of like this, and like I want to make a platform between them to make an extra large platform in the middle to give you more space on top, and then you've got like a castle that you could turn around either side. But now, thanks to a couple of people online, Grindhead Jim, look in your direction. People are going, you should make a like anti-Eternian castle. Just get some spray paint and make it black. And
That'd be cool.
I'm thinking I'm going to do that.
But once you have an anti-Eternian castle, you're going to have to populate it with anti-Eternian characters. So you're probably going to end up like rebuying everybody and just like spraying them black.
I can still do my idea and make a super castle because I can have the front unfolded side as a green with the platform there, and I can still just turn the whole thing around if I want the anti-Eternian. So I don't know if I'm just going to spray paint it because it's not great on the plastic. Spray paint kind of tends to peel off after a year or two, or if I should make the effort to get some proper modeling type paints and have a proper go. I don't know, but that's something I could do because I can just slap it on there. It's not like painting eyes or faces on a little figure, which would, make a mess. I'm no good at doing that sort of thing.
Well, one thing about the concept of a super castle, it would definitely, like you can see behind me here, pointing. What am I pointing at? Yeah, my Talon Fighter and Wind Raider, they're a bit squished together.
Yeah.
If you had that super castle layout, you could have one in the kind of opposite corner, depending on how you laid it out. It would kind of spread things out a bit.
I've already planned out, and it's because I've watched a fair bit of those customs on that Hebrew channel. He does all kinds of 3D prints and that, so I get the idea of stuff, and I'm like, I don't have a 3D printer, but like I can get a piece of fucking plywood and cut it to the right shape, so it's going to fit between two castles. Just give me a flat shelf basically between two castles. And then if you want to add some kind of peg or something on top of that, you could, give you space for doing stuff like that.
Would you be interested in getting into the 3D printing space?
Not me. Like I've seen other people doing 3D prints. I'd rather buy something that was already made from someone that knew what they're doing. Like I've got no technical skill on that level, but I've got lifelong friends that are, like model makers and people that build stuff from scratch and send me pictures. I'm like, that's amazing. I wish I could do that, but no. I would happily buy something that was good, that fit with what I wanted in my collection. And I did paid a guy a couple of years ago actually for a custom Slash figure. I'll grab him. I'm just going to pause the cam so you don't see me in my sweaty boxer shorts.
Yeah, we didn't come here for a peep show, Johnny.
No, we did not. Doesn't bother me, but nobody needs to see that. So this guy's a custom, and we can. Where is he? We'll give him a little dust. You'll never guess for what character this is.
And is this fully 3D printed?
No, it's just a figure I paid someone to customize from an existing figure.
Right, I got you. Yeah.
But you can guess what the character is, yeah?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's a Slash, right? But like it was a Slash with
that won't pass the safety standards. That's plastic, but if you're not, that will hurt you.
That's sharp. That's a proper blade right there.
But basically, I got a customizer mate who's online. I haven't met him, but he's an Australian guy. He's done. He took a whole bunch of Mattel wrestlers and turns them into Toxic Avengers in 6-inch scale, like years ago. And I was just seeing his pictures online and going, these are amazing. I'm like, can you do me a custom? And he's like, yeah, I guess, because he just does his own stuff. He's not looking to sell his wares. I just messaged him because I've been in contact with him for a couple of years on Facebook, and I said, can you do me a custom of a Ninja Turtles figure? I'll send you a figure and I'll tell you what I want with it. And he goes, yeah, no worries. And he's got similar skills to an old mate I know back in New Zealand as far as he does stuff practical as far as painting and all that. Now, this is a Playmates figure, and it's in, hang on, just to show you the scale and size. It's a Playmates figure, but it's a modern figure from a Ben 10 line. But he's in the same scale and size. And I said, I'd like to do an IDW style Slash. He's got the black bandana, and that's why the claws are so gigantic. And he's got the kind of more buff, almost Hulk-like arms. Because in the IDW comics, Slash was like about bloody 10 feet, bloody tall, and just massive Hulk size. But I'd like to have that style Slash, but done as if it was in the vintage line in the figures. And so that was a Ben 10 4 arms. It was the big red guy in the Ben 10 cartoon. And this figure did have 4 arms, which you would never tell. He had other arms coming out of here. The guy who did this custom for me cut those arms off, and he showed me photographs at each stage along the way. The claw and this whole piece here, he custom made that entire piece. That didn't exist. He made that. The head he made from scratch. He put a little cloth bandana on there. It's plastic there, but then cloth there. The shell on the back is like I think it's like an epoxy putty, something like that. And he put it layer by layer. And he showed me this was all like grey and black and white, showing me pictures as he was building it. And he'd send me pictures going, oh, is this okay? Is this okay? I'm like, that's fucking fantastic. Keep going. Just do it. It's amazing. And he painted it all, and he did proper paints on it, and he did like a finish and sealed it so all the paint stays on. And he goes, oh, be careful with it because it's a custom, so the paint it might not pose that well. The paint might scratch or. But I've had this 3-4 years. I can pose and move it fine. Not a lick of paint has ever gone anywhere. If you didn't know this was a custom, you'd think it was just a toy from another toy line.
I would have assumed it was an actual like it was an actual
like
manufactured, mass produced. Yeah, exactly.
Like the quality
it looks really
of
good.
What he did with the paint is better than what they do with the bloody manufacturers, because he's done it all by hand, not by machine or anything. So I was so happy with that. There's an awesome custom Slash who just sits over there with all my vintage turtles and other stuff. But yeah, he was
nice
an awesome
having
guy.
something. You're the only person in the world who has that, which is pretty cool.
Exactly. And I've got him doing another custom this year for me, which he's had the piece for 6 months, but I said to him, I picked up a Origins Battle Cat, which I've owned 2 or 3 of. I've got one in my collection. One is in a box on the floor next to me. I'm sending to a friend. It's boxed up, some old Toy Biz toys from the 90s and some wrestlers. It's my old friend in New Zealand. I'm just gifting him a bunch of cool stuff that's been sitting here for about a year. And keeps the box sets getting bigger and bigger. But the other mate who did that Slash custom, I sent him a Origins Battle Cat because they were on sale for like $20. And I'm like, I'd like you to do a custom of this. And I said, if you don't get around to doing it, I don't care. Just keep the damn figure because it's cheap and on sale. I got free shipping from Amazon, shipped it straight to his house. He's painting it pink. And it's like, why the fuck do you want a pink cat? In the She-Ra cartoon, Catra, and in the toy, well, not so much the cartoon, but the toy line, she has a mount it's just a pink repaint of Battle Cat. And so I'm getting to a custom.
That would definitely work.
Yeah, well, I saw someone else had done it online. That's where I got the idea. I was just looking at hobby forums and all that, and someone done it real nice. And I showed him the pictures. I saved the pictures and went, do you reckon you could do this? Because he'd done that so detailed. I said, I mean, can you paint this green cat and make it pink? And he's like, course a bloody well cat. It's just changed the colour.
Child's play.
So he's had it a few months, but he's got like a wife and kids and pets, and he's busy. I don't care if it takes him a year or 2 years. He can hang on, do it when it's convenient, and I'll pay him to do it like I do with that. So eventually,
I was thinking of trying to do something similar, except I was thinking of an anti-Eternia battle cat, because it's just essentially
I've seen a few
black
people
spray
done that
job.
too. Yep.
And the armor you can keep pretty much the same color, because anti-Eternia He-Man has the red armor anyway. So it would be a pretty easy, well, not that easy because I don't have any talent, but it's something I could attempt possibly. That anti-Eternia He-Man, that was one of those figures where like didn't know fucking anything about anti-Eternia He-Man.
Neither did
it's just a repaint of He-Man, and then as soon as I had it in my hand, I was like, this is a badass looking character,
Yeah, I want to
how
get
can we
another
make
one.
He-Man more badass? Let's make him jet black with red eyes.
Yeah, I same. I didn't know anything about that, and since I've watched those YouTube videos going on about the German He-Man Motu lore and whatnot, I part swapped the anti-Eternian one with the Hordak because they both had the black and the grey and the red, and it looks really cool. So I want to get a second one so I can keep him as that part swap for you.
Yeah, he'd look good. I can actually picture it in my head him looking good with the Hordak black and red gear as well. Yeah, so I really wish I'd gotten more of these characters when they were cheaper and more easily available.
Well, some are still available, like the Buzzsaw Hordak still around online. I want to get that because he's got 2 heads to muck about with.
Yeah, he'd be worth picking up, I'd say. The odd time over here, like it's strange, like the comic shop that I buy my stuff from, like I think they recently actually got in just like the Wave 1 Beastman, like just in the Wave 1 packaging and Origins. Like it's so weird. Like every now and again, and I think they've like 10 of them in stock. They'll just kind of come across this like lot of the same figure because it's too bad. I must check and see if you are looking for another Man at Arms. I'll actually check for you to see, because the odd time they don't always have them up on the website, but if you call into the shop, they'll have kind of extra figures that just come into stock, and you can kind of pick around. So next time I'm up there, I'll have a look for you.
It's similar here. That's how I got my, I think it was Jitsu or one of those later wave characters in Origins. There's various comic shops in Melbourne. Like I'm in Perth, but I used to live over that way, so I've seen the actual comic shops years ago when I've been in the city, visited the city. They've got sometimes in those comic shops they'll have stuff that turns up on their eBay store. So I'll look through once a month, and I picked up Jitsu and a couple other ones, and they were brand new, but just out of package. And for whatever, they'd open them or whatever, but they were completely brand new with the accessories. They were virtually untouched. They just weren't in the retail package. And I got some of them for a fair price. So 80% I got from UK, US, and a few random ones I got off eBay from sellers that had reasonable prices. Like I only just got the bloody King Hiss I tried to get on import and could not get him. I was so pissed off because the week this guy was released, they were scalping them like crazy on eBay Australia for $100 to $200 friggin' dollars, and I went, no way am I paying that. It's ridiculous. And he's one of my most wanted figures because I love the Snake Men. I like reptiles, I like dinosaurs. I've got these other Snake Men. He's the leader of Snake Men. He's got to be there. So I finally got him for a good price off eBay. And I love that he comes with these extra accessories and you can muck about and do fun things with them.
Cool. That's cool, man. That is really cool.
Yeah. I just because it was yellow.
It looked so good. And I was thinking of getting the second King Hiss solely for the purpose because I wanted just to have the snake version and the human version. But if I had spare parts, I would definitely pick up a second Buzz Off, because that, man, I'm telling you, that looked fucking awesome there, what you just showed me. That is brilliant looking.
When they announced him, even just in the render online, I went, based on the old classics and the original one, I want 2 versions, to have this and the snake one. But I haven't made him yet because I had this is my Killer Bees team for my Motu wrestling. I've got Beastmen, Killer Bees, the Skeletors, because it's a Skeletor and it's Keldorf as a tag team. I had these in there and I went, I looked at my figures and went, who's got yellow or similar colors? And Matt, a bee, and he's a bee and it's a snake. because in all the whole Snake Man thing, they have the snake versions of Teela and He-Man and Man at
Because
Arms.
you kind of
I really love it.
mutate and like you get snake-like features when the snake men
Yeah,
kind of
yes,
take you over. So it kind of makes sense. I was thinking I'd love to get another is it Ratlord that has the long neck? Is he the guy with the long neck? I'd like to get a couple of him and a couple of more snake troopers as well, so I can mix and match the heads because I think it's the exact same head, just a different color. Yeah, exactly.
that's
I
that's a,
just
that's
like
a
to get a few of
vintage
them.
one a friend gifted me, but I do have the he's caught on the fucking ropes on the rope.
He's hung up
That's
on
the
the rope.
origin. He literally was because I put the arm around the rope so they don't fall over. That's the Origins one, and he's so good. Like you can't tell on my
Yeah,
shitty camera, but
I love that
the
Origins
color
one.
is so vibrant. And the same month, I picked up this guy. A friend gifted me this one who lives over in Victoria, and you saw that the GI Joburg guy that talked to me about the toy stuff. Yeah, it's not him, but he's in the group the guy runs. I was trying to get the Grizzlaw and the Origins, but couldn't get one. My friend gifted me a vintage one, which is over there in nice condition, and without even telling me, he gave me this guy for free. And like that
Awesome.
gimmick works perfectly.
And he does
He
the
still
rattle
shakes,
too.
and it's so cool because there's another Snake Man, and you can just have him in there. You can have as many Snake Men as you want. And I love that this guy comes with the connector piece where you can put his waist come off.
Yeah.
Trying to get his
Happens
head.
to mind all the
I
time.
love that yellow piece just pulls off, and you can put that on other figures. I put it on the Camo Khan. I put it on the He-Man where it gives them a weird phallic head, and I just love the Snake Man so much.
Yeah, they're awesome. And it was one of those things where I hadn't really been I was aware of Snake Man from 2000X because I had a few of
Mm-hmm.
the figures, but I didn't really know much
Yeah.
about them. And so they weren't like a big deal to me. But fuck man, I really love those Origin Snake
Mm.
Men. I've gotten as
I
many as
love
I
them.
can so far, and I'm definitely going to try and get doubles of them while they are still around. I know I'm like a
Yes.
broken record saying that all day,
Well,
but it is something I really should do.
I wanted doubles of the Snake Men when I picked some up, and then when they had the pre-orders for Big Bad, I pre-ordered those redeco ones in the different colors of the Snake Men and some other stuff on there. So I really hope I can get them because I got that bloody missing package. So I really hope I can get that stuff because the end of the line Snake Man stuff is the things I want the most. The, excuse me, the Evil Horde and Hordak and She-Ra, and then the Snake Men have become my favorite stuff for characters and figures. I like Skeletor and his minions; they're cool. They're the original crew, but I just like the Hordak and the Snake Man so much. And I've got a Snake Mountain on order, and I read enough of the comics and the cartoons. I'm like, Skeletor was not getting near that. That's going to be my Snake Man hideout if I can get that damn playset.
We were talking recently as well in messages. I mentioned to you I
Mm-hmm.
was thinking of getting
Yeah.
that Chaos Snake Attack playset from the Netflix
Yes, I've almost bought that a
cartoon.
bunch of times.
They're selling them for like 15 quid a pop. There's this
Oh, that's
German seller
awesome. They're
selling them at the moment.
overpriced
I'm
here.
thinking
That's
of
why I don't have
getting,
it.
I could get two of them and then kind of have the two
Yeah,
snake heads coming out. And then if I had some type of throne in the middle for King Hiss, I think
yeah,
I'd like to make like a Snake Man themed kind of area with those being the
that'll
kind of
be
feature
cool.
pieces.
You could always get a throne off someone's 3D print store or something. There's loads of that kind of stuff around.
I hear Grindhead Jim's getting a 3D printer, so
Is he? Oh, so start
yeah,
cranking out some skeletal
yeah,
thrones and some snake man
give him a few
thrones.
projects.
They'll be on the wait list. They'll be like, Will be like, where's that thing? You're like, oh, I'm busy.
I think that's like if I probably I'm not into 3D printing, but if I was, I think all I'd probably make is like,
I'd
multiples
want
of
platforms and
accessories, like,
accessories for
He-Man
ships and that.
swords and stuff like that, That's all I do.
Well, weapons and stuff would be simple, like that kind of thing. You could do in a few, less than 24 hours. That kind of you could do a He-Man sword in an hour or 3 hours based on just it's a little thing. But if you want a big chunky floor or platform like on those Hebrew channels, he's printed a heap of cool stuff. made extra levels for Castle Grayskull for his classics one and the Origins one. That kind of stuff's like a 24-hour print, and if it stuffs up, you've just lost the whole thing.
I'll wait till we get to like Star Trek level of matter duplication technology.
Yeah,
and then I'll
exactly.
get
Matter
on it.
duplicators, like there it is. There's my snacks and there's my accessories for the playset. Don't mix them up. Don't eat the playset.
Yeah, I was actually. I think I don't. You're in the other chat we're in. I had put in. I found, and I really hope he turns out to be legit and not like a fraudster. But there's an Irish seller, another Irish seller now on eBay that's kind of got the Origin stuff for reasonable enough prices. So I've ordered like a
He's
Snake
cutting his own
Soldier.
throat.
Yeah, he supposedly only lives like 2 hours from where I live. So I suppose if it goes wrong, I can just
Oh,
drive up there and get my money back or whatever. But I bought a few little things
vengeance.
from him just to see. I'm gonna see first if he's a real deal guy. So I've purchased a couple of
Yeah,
small things. But
yeah.
if he's on the
I've had
level, I hopefully it's in like a news source for finding stuff.
there's not a whole lot of people. I mean, there's people in Perth that collect toys, but whether there's less people that live here, and very occasionally do I ever get anything from this state for eBay and that. But there was another collector who was into Transformer stuff a few years back. I bought quite a few things off eBay, and I looked at the suburb and went, "You're like half an hour away from me. Can I just like order a bunch of stuff and come pick it up because it's better than posting it to me, and it's cheaper to do the fuel than." He's like, "Yeah, that's all right." So I went out there and I bought a whole pile of stuff. I mean, like 5 or 10 toys, and this is like sort of like the Unicron trilogy stuff. This is 5-10 years ago when things were good prices. Bought a whole pile of loose stuff off him. Bought a whole bunch of loose classic Transformers before they did Siege and combined with. Before that, had all sorts of cool stuff. Picked it up, and nice guy. He'd come to the door. He'd have boxes of stuff, and here's the things you want, loose stuff. And I'd go, "Oh, there's some cool stuff. I might get that next time." So I bought a couple of things off him like that, where I drove out totally 100% above board, all good dealings. And then one day, several months later, I'm browsing his eBay store. I didn't know it was him because he had like a pseudonym. But based on the toys I'd seen and the prices he had them at, he's like me. He sells them for good, fair prices or cheaper than everyone else. I recognised his inventory. I knew it was him without even knowing that it was him. But he blocked me on eBay. And he blocked me as a buyer. And I was like, why the hell did this guy block me? I drove out to his house and bought stuff in person. I bought extra toys and paid cash for them. And he just randomly blocked me. So I don't know if he did it by accident or what, but I was blocked for over 2 years. And recently, if it expired or he unblocked me, I was able to buy something from him again. And when he sent me something, I just went, "Oh, thanks for sending me a thing. It was a really good deal." And I just wanted to send that personal message, and hopefully he doesn't block me again for no reason.
I wonder, and there was never any explanation,
No,
or
never, never. He might have done it by accident or mixed me up with someone else, because I've got 100% feedback for like, I don't know, 15 years on eBay as a buyer, occasionally sell something. And I'd driven out and bought stuff in person and had good dealings. He was friendly. We were good. And it was so random. He blocked me because he always had the best bloody deals on Transformers shit. And I was so annoyed I couldn't buy it.
Yeah, because usually I don't know if I ever told this. I used to work for eBay, and it used to
Yeah,
be a scam
really.
that it was kind of
Oh,
the other way around, where say I'd order something off you and I'd pay for the item and I'd pay whatever you're going to charge for shipping.
mhm.
But then I'd message you and be like, "Oh, Johnny, I see we only live like a short distance, from each other. So look, I'll just drive up and I'll just grab that
Yeah,
item off you.
yeah,
That's fine. I've already paid for it." So then what would happen is I'd go up to you, I'd get the item. "Thanks, Johnny. See you later." Drive
yeah.
off. Then I'd open up a claim against you a little while later
Oh, I never
saying that
got
you
it.
didn't send me the item, which is
Yeah,
true because you didn't send it to me. But you didn't.
yeah,
But we also didn't agree that I pick it up in person, and there's no way to prove that I did.
yeah,
And that
yeah.
used to
There's a
be
flaw in the
such
eBay system.
yeah, that was a big scam. When I was working for you, we got so many sellers who got ripped off by
Oh,
doing
man.
those type of deals.
I've had someone do pick up from me a few months back. I sold my Generations Metroplex for a reasonable price. Guy that paid cash for it and didn't pick up. But if you hit buy on eBay, you're supposed to pay. But then if they're doing pickup, there's no way to properly put it in the system and then show that you've sold it without, so eBay can get their percentage and all that. But also, just like you said, if someone wants to rip you off, they can. But the guy came to my door, he paid cash, and I said, that's fine if you're here. I had two other sellers who were like, "Oh, buy that," and then they realised they were more than a 30-minute drive away, and went, "Yeah, no, it's too far. I won't drive over there." And that the guy who did buy it, he drove probably nearly an hour, which I've done myself too at times to pick up stuff. He drove probably an hour away, and I said, "You didn't mind the distance and fuel?" He goes, "Mate, I drive bloody interstate all the time. It's nothing to drive over there." So the other ones just didn't look at the suburbs, because I'm south of the river and people were driving from north of the river, and they just went, "Nah, too far." Because on the listing I went, absolutely will not post to anywhere, because it's too expensive to post those Titan scale transformers. Like, I'm not Amazon or eBay. Amazon, I don't get free shipping to send things to people, so it's just, you'd lose too much sending the bloody things.
What was the Metroplex? It was like the big saw blade arm. Is that Metroplex?
That's Cybertron Metroplex, who turns into the mining equipment thing. I had the Generations one, which was based on the G1 version, except he was real skeletal in the middle with the pelvis. And
it's like he was just, someone just took his sides and pressed them in.
So people were never happy with him. I love Metroplex. He's awesome. He did come out when they did those High Moon Studios video games, like the War for Cybertron games, those two games they did. He was a tie-in with that, because he has the voice clips from the audio in that game, but he doesn't look anything like the big sumo beefcake proportions in that game. He looks like he'd been on a diet of, just not eating anything for a long time.
They'll take another stab at that G1 Metroplex again.
I hope they do. They've really stuffed up the Titan scale stuff in recent times. Like, they did Omega Supreme and Scorponok were good, but the bloody the Arc ship they did and the Nemesis were just fairly horrible looking things.
Yeah. For me with them, the problem for me was I like the ships, but all they were to me was ships. The robots don't mean anything to me, because they never had robots that were characters in the cartoon. So, and when I actually saw the Arc in person, they had a second hand in one of the shops in Dublin. It looked kind of small as a ship. And so if I was going to buy it, I don't think I'd even enjoy displaying it as a ship, because it just didn't look like it would fit with anything else I own.
For the pricing, I'd rather have some kind of hollow model kit of either one of the ships and do a diorama with a little kind of Legends scale thing would be better. As Titans, they just don't work. They're just kind of weird nonsense.
They were definitely kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel, I think, for ideas of just throwing.
Well, a
combiner would always be an easy option, but they obviously want to now release them as separate pieces so they can sell them to you over time. So they were stuck for ideas of just picking a singular big robot character. So they're like, fuck it, let's just make up a couple of characters.
Yeah, I saw that Titan scale thing running out several years ahead, because they'd already done all the major other characters. They've done the Scorponok, they've done the Black Zarek repainted black and gold and red. They've done Omega Supreme, they've done Omega Sentinel in the blue, and that was it. There are no more characters. So I could see it coming before they did it. The same as like they've done since the Combiner Wars into the Siege line. They did remakes of all the 86, 87 major characters, combiners, the catalogue, your Duocons, your monster bots. They've redone every character basically, 60, 100 characters, and they've run out, so they're going to start fudging up.
The cycle's going to start again. It's going to be the recycle now.
Do some other ones, or they've got to go to new media or whatever. Like there's a good blog I read years ago. It was called The Great G1 Remake Marathon, and probably about 10 years old now, but I was reading that blog, and he predicted all the stuff that we've had in the last 10 years to like 90% based on the catalogs of the 80s. And really good blog. And he had said, this is what they were doing here and there. Here's what they'll probably do next. Here's what they might do next. And he was like 90% accurate, like 10 years ago, to just about all the lines they've done in recent years. And it was reading that guy's blog. It was really good language. I was reading one day and going, fuck it, I can write a blog like this too. So I started doing one as well, like Transformers, based on what he said, how he wrote his blog. And I've been doing that for years and years. And I wrote to the guy, and we were kind of like email pen pals, friends. Again, I never met him. He lives in America. He lived in America. And I said, I really enjoy your blog, and here's why I'm doing my one, because I love the style of what you did in your one. And he read some of my articles and gave me some feedback. They're not great, but they're just conversational. We're just talking about fucking toys. Really good dude. And then I found out a couple of years ago, he bloody died real young of some horrible disease. And I was like, oh man, I was heartbroken. Only because I was on the old TFW 2005 forums. I found out on there he was known in the community through other people and friends, and he had passed on. And I was like, oh man, I felt so bad, because I was just this guy. I haven't met him, but he was like a friend I knew online for 2 or 3 years, and just it felt terrible.
That is sad. I'm assuming his blogs and everything are still up to be
They're
read.
still up now, I think, and I saved a lot of his old articles because I use them for reference, and I just like reading them. So I actually saved them offline and chucked them on Google Drive and that. And it's a weird thing with digital media, because we're all going to go at some point, but like some of the stuff we've put online is going to outlive us, and like some of it good, some of it not so good. It's going to
There'll
still
be
be
some
around
like
when we're gone.
random alien civilization looking at this recording in like 2 million years
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
going like, "What the fuck are these
Sending
guys?"
off
So
into space. Yeah. But yeah, no, he was a really good dude. Anyway, I was glad I got to correspond with him over a couple of years, just the odd message here and there online, and before meeting
was he
like
in the States or was he Australian
yeah,
or
he was
whereabouts was he
In
based?
the States. And I only knew him through the blog, and I directly messaged him an email on that. But it was on the TFW forums. I think I saw the same username where someone mentioned when he'd passed on and all that. And his, circle of friends had talked about him, but I didn't know him outside of that. So it was an odd situation, but I don't know, it's you kind of I've had pen friends here and there over the years, but like video stuff in the modern era is kind of new, so you don't always know someone in the same way over email as you do if you'd known them from school or from socially from wherever.
Yeah, it's well that whole thing's still fairly new to me because I only even really
Mm,
started video chatting with people
mm.
during the pandemic. Before then, the height of my interaction would really just be like the odd comment or
Yeah,
something like
same,
that. Like there was never anything really face to face on any kind of meaningful level. So,
yeah.
but it's kind of extended just the whole experience or expanded the whole experience for me because it's like I don't know, you go for so many years, and don't get me wrong, like I've lots of friends in the real world who do like different pop
Mhm.
culture stuff, the same stuff as me and you and that,
But you
but
don't
it's a bit
see them
different
anymore.
when you're kind of you don't see them anymore, and also like
Yeah.
they're not going to necessarily be as like heavy on the stuff as say we
Mhm.
would be, like like they have
Yeah,
families and kids and stuff. They don't have
yeah.
rooms
They
filled with
got
toys,
priorities and
like
commitments.
they exactly. So it is nice like to be able to actually like go have a chat with someone who's actually
Mhm.
on the same level. And even if you like, we're not ever, nobody's ever going. I was saying this to Jim recently as well. It's like nobody is ever going to have like a like for like interest or like a like for like collection or anything like
Mhm.
that. But that's the
Yeah.
beauty of it because each of us will know something or be interested in something that's just different enough from the next person that will always be able to learn
Mhm.
something from somebody else. And like it just I just love the whole dynamic of what we're
Mhm.
able to do with this. Like and like
Yeah.
whether it's these like chats or what have you, it's really cool to be able to interact with people like that.
Like I used to have an old mate. I mean, I had my mate Chris back in high school. I knew. I mean, I still technically know him now. I message him every other fucking day on Facebook, but I haven't seen him in person for more than 10 years because he's back in New Zealand. Um, and I used to see him like every day, like before and after school and all that, for like probably a good 15 years. Like I saw him every single day, and like he's massive influence on my life and the things I like and he likes and all that. And I had another good friend at the same time named Luke. We met playing Mortal Kombat 3 in an arcade in Christchurch. and we like Mortal Kombat 1 and 2 more, but number 3 was the new game. He was playing Kill Instinct. We played King of Fighters, Street Fighter, all that, in the arcades. We'd go home. We were just talking over the game, and then we're walking back to his house, which is a good hour walk from the arcade in the city back to his house. Went home, playing Super Nintendo, playing Donkey Kong, Mario, Kill Instinct on his game at home, and we became good friends and saw each other every day for probably a good 10 or 12 years, mostly connecting over video games and talking about this. I had Mega Drive, he had Super Nintendo, and he'd come to my house on the weekend and would start playing video games. Then when PlayStation came along, we had all the fighting games, we had all the bootleg stuff from Japan. We'd sit there playing games non-stop for like 12 hours on a Friday night and just fall asleep
Those are the
playing some
days.
fighting games.
I love
Well,
that, and I
that
love
sort
the
of,
era of bootleg PlayStation stuff. Because
yeah,
like
yeah,
like here, like the kind of the common thing was to have like what was called the chip PlayStation.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you'd bring
yeah.
your
Same in New
PlayStation to
Zealand.
a guy,
Yeah,
he'd put the mod chip in, and then after that
yeah.
it was like fair game. You could get your
The
pirate
guy that
games,
did a
you your
mod chip,
Japanese
and
games.
the guy that did a mod chip my PlayStation, I went and bought one. The day I bought a PlayStation, I went to the guy's house. He had Public Enemy playing like boom, 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 massive speakers as he was soldering the chip.
Like it was so common. There used to be people handing out leaflets outside of my school with just lists
Really?
of games
Oh,
and the
yeah.
prices you would, and like
Yeah.
anybody who
We used
had
to
a
have it in
PlayStation pretty much did it.
the paper, the buy sell exchange paper, like the classifieds, like if you want mod chips. And I used to get Mega Drive games, just buy them, and then at PlayStation it was bootleg. It was like Commodore 64 all over again. It was bootleg everything.
But even like that story you were telling about meeting him like through going to the arcades, like
Yeah, I
shit
went to
like
the
that just
arcade for
wouldn't
like 20 years.
that wouldn't happen to with kids these days because first of
No,
all they probably wouldn't be allowed out, unsupervised, and even just
stay home, play
it's so
Splatoon.
exactly is there even that type of like interaction
And
anymore? I
these are
wonder because
and like the arcade I went to was a good arcade called Wizards, right? And you'd put your little 20 cents on the cab. You want the next go on Street Fighter, and people respect. They go, okay, he's got next game. But there was an arcade next door to that. When I say next door, I mean literally next door on the other side of the wall, and that was called Penny Arcade, and that's where arcade games went to die. You had like Street Fighter 2 World Warrior, where there was 6 buttons, and some of them worked, and they had probably a dozen of them. They had that bootleg like the Rainbow Street Fighter, where the fireballs are coming out of Ryu when he goes up in the air. Zangief could pile drive from me on the screen. There was cigarette burns all over the cabs. There was some of the buttons. The buttons were jeweled, meaning if you press LP like the light punch, it might do a random kick or a punch or any one of the 3 punches because they dulled the functions and the guys fixing them fucked it up. And when you went there, if
awesome
you
they had
put your coin on the machine, the
the
guys would
Rainbow
just
Street
steal
Fighter.
it. Yeah, if you put your coin on the machine, the guys would just steal it. And it was like the outlaw arcade where all the bullies went, but it was cheap to play the games. Half of them didn't work properly. No one could be fucked fixing them. And if you put your coin in the machine, the bullies would just steal it and just look at you and be like, "What? What are you
What are
going
you
to do,
gonna
little
do?
skinny boy?" And I actually had a guy from my school one time mug me as I was walking into the arcade going, "Give me what you got." And I looked at him and went, "Okay." Because this guy was like twice as wide as me, stocky as hell, like a Legion of Doom animal warrior looking sort of guy, like real stocky. And the week before, I'd seen him punch out a guy in the school, like do a big flying Superman punch, like bam, just knock a guy out in one. I went, just take my money. Because he was for
His
real. He just
reputation
went,
preceded him.
well, I'd literally seen him knock someone out. He was beefy as hell. And he just goes, give me your money or I'm going to knock you out. I went, okay, just take it. 50 cents,
Yeah,
not worth it.
yeah, it's not worth it.
But yeah, that was like the funny thing. I still went there like for years and years, and it was fine. Like there was that guy mugged me, but most of the time it was fine. He just you figured out which machines didn't bloody acknowledge the credit and the buttons were fucked and all that, and played the ones that worked and went next door when you had more money at the main arcade where the guy would get rid of the bullies or tell them to go away if they were being nasty.
Yeah, I haven't stepped foot inside an arcade in A
Yeah.
long time.
They had another one about 2 blocks from there. It was called, I'm not making this, it was called the Dog House. It was a fish and chip bar, and it had like Mortal Kombat 1 and some other stuff. And that one was known, it only had probably 5 or 6 machines because it was mainly a fish and chip bar. That one was known like, don't go there unless you want to get roughed up or someone's going to harass you. So if it was daylight hours, you might play the game. If it was after dark, you never went in there because someone would like beat you up for sure.
We had a kind of rough spot as well. Like it was kind of one of those. It was like a casino that mainly just happened to have like an arcade section in the
Mm-hmm.
back. So as a kid, it was grand going in during the day to play your games, but you did not want to be there in the evening time once all the
Mm-hmm.
actual like gamblers and shit started
Yeah,
flooding
yeah,
in. It's like it just became this, you know, dark and dingy and
yeah,
sometimes
yeah,
violent place you didn't want to be
yeah.
around.
Yeah, I used to go to the it's called Wizards arcade in the city back in Christchurch for years and years, and they had on a Saturday night you would pay $8 and all the machines are on free play, and they had a special button that would do the credit instead of putting a coin in. So you'd get 3 hours where you'd play everything. You'd play Street Fighter, you'd play Ninja Turtles right through the end, Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, Aliens, all that stuff you could just play. And one of my dad's best friends, her kids used to go there, and they'd take me along, and they'd pick me up and take me along once a month on Saturday night. So I got to go that for a whole bunch of times, and it was just one of the best times of my life playing those old games.
It's a big deal though when you're that age as well, because
Mm.
it's the only time there's certain games that you're only going to have the opportunity to
Yeah,
play
yeah.
if you go
Well,
to a
the home
particular
versions
place.
were rubbish in the early days. C64 and Nintendo was crap until they got into like Super Nintendo, Mega Drive, PlayStation. You were getting much better games. So that the arcade was the thing. That was the main gaming thing.
And like you were saying earlier, you got a chance to actually meet people who would become
Yeah,
friends,
yeah.
or even sometimes people who you would only associate with the arcade. Like, because I remember there'd be
Yes, yeah.
kids that you'd hang around with a kid while you were both in the arcade, but you might
Yeah,
not
yeah.
ever interact with each other outside of that. There was that type of dynamic,
Exactly.
at
It's
play
like
as
in
well.
school. There was mates you'd see inside of school and mates you'd see outside of school. The same sort of thing. There was people they saw at the arcade, and playing the game of like Captain Commando, and like there'd be people on every position in it. Ninja Turtles. There was playing it with 3 other actual human beings in person. It was awesome. Or Simpsons, and everyone's teaming up and fighting, and you were just like the best mates for that time you were playing that game.
Yeah, it's like united under a common goal. Like we
Yeah,
can
yeah,
beat this
yeah.
together.
Yeah, and it's not the same. Like even, I mean, at home we used to play PlayStation like Tekken 3 on the couch versus each other. That was fun, but I don't. I've never been a fan. Like online gaming's become a massive thing, and like your Dooms, your Street Fighters, whatever, and your RPGs. I've never cared for it because I like playing a game with someone in person. If they're not in the room, or I don't care, I don't want to play it. I'd rather play a game by myself.
Yeah. Well, like, don't get me wrong. I was a fan of online gaming when it was
Mhm.
kind of in its infancy and when it felt like,
Like
the people I was
EverQuest.
playing games online. Yeah, like, but even like, I would play games online with people who I would know in real life back in the day.
Yeah,
Like there'd
that's
be people
different.
like
That's
that,
different.
it
Yeah.
was different like that. But whereas now everything is fucking online and it's gotten to the
Mm.
point where you can't even just buy a game that's actually a finished game. You have
Yeah,
to
yeah,
go online straight away to download a patch or,
yeah.
if you
Download
want
a
to
thing.
play certain content, it's like straight online. It's just it got to the point for me. I kind of around the time of like PlayStation 3, Xbox 360
Yep.
era of games, I started kind of like stepping back because
Yeah, same.
it just kind of
Yeah.
was getting and we kind of lost that because I would love like there was nothing better. Remember back in the day with the PlayStation having like a multi tap and
Yep. Yep.
having to plug in your extension
Well,
controller cords with two other people.
I remember on Super Nintendo, my mate who had Super Nintendo, his brother used to go and do all the deals through the papers. He picked up the multi tap for Bomberman on the Super Nintendo. There's only
Yeah,
three of
and
us, but you could play
that's
multiple.
real multiplayer, like in-person
Yeah.
multiplayer. Like it feels
Yeah.
so cool to be able to do that
Mm.
back in the day. Whereas now
We used to
you just go
play.
online and you just go into a server and meet random people and play the game.
We used to play Super Nintendo Street Fighter for so many hours before we had PlayStation and Tekken, and played a lot of that, especially Tekken 3. But the Super Nintendo, like the Turbo / Hyper Fighting the Super Nintendo, we played that every weekend for like probably a couple of years, and then we're getting a bit bored of it. But then he picked up in the second hand, he got an Action Replay, and they were doing all these crazy codes of doing air moves and jumping up the screen and doing weird glitchy stuff. And that we're playing another 6 months of that Street Fighter with the Action Replay weird codes and stuff.
That's another thing that's going to be totally foreign to modern gamers is cheats and cheat codes and stuff like that. Like that shit just doesn't happen. Yeah, buying a magazine and going through looking for the games that you had, and then manually putting in your cheats. It's just a different era.
Actually,
it will never be like that again.
I've still got my old Mega Drive, and I've got the first Mortal Kombat or Mega Drive / Genesis. I've still got my original version sitting out the back in tubs next to my toys and shit. I played that game for probably about 5 years, and I went back to the arcades, played it at home on the systems. I played the Master System version, the Game Gear version, I played the Nintendo, every version that existed, the Game Boy. Obsessed with that game for so many years. And then I got an Action Replay for that, and you could do you could make it so you're on a certain stage, and you do all the special stuff to fight Reptile on the Genesis. And on the Genesis version, you can make it so you fight Reptile, and it's the endurance where the other character comes in. And when you kill Reptile, a second character will jump in, and you're fighting a reptilian Sonya or a reptilian Johnny Cage, and it'll do all sorts of weird combo, bizarre move. Like Johnny Cage will be throwing a harpoon at you. Sonya will do an uppercut, but it's a scissor kick, and she'll uppercut you across the screen. It was weird stuff that existed on that Mega Drive version just based on the programming, and the game would just work out whatever it did. It was never meant to be in there.
Because a lot of the way, am I correct in saying this, when it came to cheats, cheat codes, etc., it was really just debugging code, wasn't that what it was? It was essentially leftover test code that you could then use to exploit weaknesses in the game.
Yeah. Most of the old Action Replay and Game Genie stuff was like infinite, say, health bar or lives, which is just a modifier based on a number or a bar on a screen. So that was simple stuff. You could actually, if you'd used it a few months, you could work out how to do it yourself by modifying there was only an 8-digit number thing went in there. But yeah, there was just leftover bits of code and stuff that technically would have been there from the arcade game. I don't know if the weird, bizarre reptilian versions of other characters exist in the arcade game. I always wondered that for years. Only some real hacker, someone on a PC would know who's run the PC version and looked. But on the Mega Drive, all these cool reptilian characters existed that weren't on the Super Nintendo or any other. And I discovered them entirely by accident. The day I was fighting reptilian Sonya and Johnny Cage, I was like, what the hell is going on? Because I beat Reptile. I don't know modifier, so you just fight Reptile on the first stage for every stage of the game, and you beat him, and all of a sudden the Sonya jumps in, who's all glitchy and green and weird, and is like throwing harpoons. It was like, what the fuck is going on?
Mind-blowing stuff as a youngster back then.
Yeah. But that extent, I was playing the game for 6 more months after I'd played it for years, just trying all these codes and different stuff and weird things it would do.
Yeah, no, and that's what I loved, especially then, because when I started to move away from the cartridge games, and you were starting to look at PS1 stuff on a disc. On my on my modded PlayStation, I apart from the built-in chip, I also had a modification cartridge that you plug into the back of the PlayStation, which would allow you to go through all the code on whatever disc you put in. So you could say stick in Resident Evil or Final Fantasy and just watch the movies from the game without having to play the game, or you could just listen to the sound files from the game without having to play the game. Like, it just opened up all these doors for you to just go around and pick about a game and just get like loads and loads of extra time out of a game just by like fucking around with it, essentially. And I loved it. I just love that era of gaming. It will never be like that again.
No,
I think even by the time the PlayStation 2 came out, they'd kind of gotten rid of that type of.
Yeah.
There was no more cheats or magazines or anything like that. It was just kind of over for that type of hacky stuff.
I had so many sleepless nights in the PlayStation era. I went from knowing my old mate Luke. We played stuff in the arcades, Mortal Kombat 2, 3, going up, King of Fighters, Street Fighter. We went to playing Super Nintendo stuff, Street Fighter, killing this thing at home. When PlayStation come out, man, we were playing Tomb Raider and Resident Evil and Silent Hill. We were playing it all night, like 12 hours, 24 hours, forget the whole weekend. We were just tag team Silent Hill. When one of us was too sleepy, the other one would take over. We'd try and figure out the puzzles. We'd be in complete sleep deprivation mode after being at high school a week. And we didn't give a fuck. We just stayed up all weekend playing those games as much as we could. It was so addictive, but we just loved every minute of it. And we became such good friends because of that whole PlayStation bloody era.
Yeah, no, and I lived that life as well. And you were living for the weekend and the time you'd actually
Yeah.
get to stay up and play through the entire weekend, and then being absolutely
that bitch,
wrecked
she's
on
drowning
Monday.
again. Old Space. It's like, oh, I heard him last night. That bitch, oh, what's she doing? She's drowning. But I remember, I love the episode of Space where he's playing the Resident Evil and Tomb Raider. Because we had that same experience. We're up all night, sleep deprived, trying to solve these puzzles. And you just start swearing at the screen, like, you stupid. Oh, you're fighting with the controls, going, you bastard.
Also, as well, like the genuine, like, because I did get a few genuine shocks playing Silent Hill and
Mhm.
Resident Evil 2 late at night,
Yeah.
like, especially when you're
I loved
younger,
it.
you're just not as prepared for shit, like,
Yeah.
you know, and then it's great when you're with someone to share in the scare, and the booty is just
Yes,
jump off
yes.
the chair at
I
the same
watched
time, like, you know.
I mean, I watched like Hellraiser 2 when I was like 12, and then I was into Pokemon when I was 18. So something was flipped in my psyche there. But I remember
I feel like
staying
that
up.
these days as well, you know.
Yeah, I remember staying up. We got Silent Hill, a bootleg of the Japanese version where we couldn't read any of the text and we didn't know what was going on. And we stayed up for like nearly 2 days playing it, playing as much as we could, trying to complete it, and we just loved it. And then when I got my first PlayStation, I got a bootleg of my friend's bootleg of Silent Hill, but by then he had the English language version. And the first night I had PlayStation, I went from playing like still had my Mega Drive in the room, and I had like Streets of Rage 3, which I played all the time. I went from playing Streets of Rage 3 to play the first Silent Hill on PlayStation all night on a Friday night for like 12 hours, and I was playing it, and we'd already played, basically completed the game, so I knew what was going on. But I was so into the atmosphere and the whole feel of the thing that as I was playing it by myself, with not being at my friend's house, just by myself at home this time, I was up all night. It got dark when the town kept turning evil, and I went from the daylight to the night and all the weird metal and the clanging bang noise. I just went, I'm not going to sleep. I'm just going to stay up till it's dawn because I got genuinely scared. Even though I'd already played the game to completion before.
No, it was weird stuff like that. I remember it was something similar. I was up really late playing through Silent Hill for the first time, and I got to the bit, I think it's near the end of the game when you play it first, there's like the cop is in a wheelchair and she's like coming after you.
Yeah,
You're in
yeah.
like a
All the
Ferris train.
noises, all the ambient noises in that game.
It was way too much for me. Like I had to I just put it on pause and I just like kind of went out of the room and I went into the kitchen and like turned on all the lights. I just had to be like in a bright space away from it.
And the funny thing is, years later, I've gone back and I'll listen to the soundtrack of that game to go to sleep now because I love
Yeah,
it.
same here. I listen to the Resident Evil 2 and 3 soundtracks all the time to relax. Typewriter music, you know, I'm safe.
Terrible sounds and industrial audio discordant sounds.
Brilliant games, though. Brilliant games.
I think that game is probably why I later enjoyed like music like Nine Inch Nails and stuff, because that was in Quake as well, the original Quake on PC before they
That's right.
had issues with the rights redoing it. It's all the Nine Inch Nails music, like Silent Hill and all that industrial, scratchy, creepy sounds.
Yeah, the Silent Hill soundtrack was something special. It was proper freaky and atmospheric.
Yeah, it was.
And I loved that the first 3 Resident Evil games also had brilliant soundtracks for getting you.
Yeah, they're like more like orchestral with the monster sounds and like that. We played a lot of the Resident Evils too. We stayed up playing those before we got to the Silent Hill. When we're playing Silent Hill, it's I don't know, it's like the dubstep of horror games. It's like here's all just the weird, creepy stuff. It's less action. the controls are not as good, but it's almost kind of on purpose just to stuff you up and make it harder for you to play
Yeah.
it, like make it more
I,
creepy
I,
and
I
weird.
I think with Resident Evil, it was more like shock horrors. You'd get
Yeah,
a fright. You'd
it was
go
like
through a
jump
door and
scare,
something would happen. It jump scares exactly.
like
Whereas with
Friday
Silent
the
Hill, it was
13th. He's
more
leaping through the window.
yeah. Silent Hill got into your brain and just
It was
wriggled
more
around in there.
psychological horror, and it was more like it's psychological horror. It gets into you, it's like a little mind worm. It gets in your head, but there's all sorts of stuff behind the scenes in those games that unless you played them a few times and seen the other endings, you don't entirely know what the hell's going on and what's
Exactly,
just meant to
exactly.
be the horror and what's just like in someone's mind.
Yeah, and what is actually the correct ending? Because
Yeah.
sometimes there's only one true
Well, they
ending.
did.
Like in Resident Evil 3, there was like 9 endings. So,
Yeah, it's crazy. It is. Like Silent Hill 2 was an amazing sequel. That was like a big game for PlayStation 2 along with Metal Gear 2. And that was an amazing sequel. And like it stood up to gameplay and game criticism for being a really good commentary on mental illness and in a quite a mature way for the time. And amazing game, graphics were fantastic, big like the PlayStation emotion engine, all that for PlayStation 2. Um, but I didn't find it as creepy or scary because the first game was it was more blurry looking, and it's almost
yeah.
as if you're like at night time or on drugs or something. Everything's got fuzzy edges and you can't quite tell what's going on, like hallucinations. It made it more scary because your mind would fill in the gaps. The PlayStation 2 one, everything was more clear and not as scary because it was a bit too realistic. And I didn't find the audio was fantastic, but not as scary. Thematically, it was good. It had, Pyramid Head and all sorts of weird monsters. And
First game, I think the look of it, it felt like everything was under a haze. Like even when
yeah, yeah,
your character would
exactly.
move, there was
Like if
almost
you
like
got
it felt like there
Vaseline,
was
just
a
smeared it
haze.
on your eyes.
Exactly, exactly. Like the lens is just a little bit slightly, dirty
Oh,
or something.
and
It just made it
have you?
really gritty. Like
Yeah, did you ever play the demo version of the first Silent Hill before the retail release? Because that was a
I
really
would
good
have
demo.
played it. I would have played it years ago, and it had
Because
a
do you
different
remember?
it had a
Remember
different
your fight?
intro if I remember
There's a
correctly.
little like the kids or baby looking things in the school. They kind of had like knives for arms, and then when the
Yes,
retail
that's
version out,
right.
they changed it a bit. They kind of censored it a little because it was a little bit too hardcore as far as what they put in. They changed it.
The demo dropped you kind of right into the middle of that as well, compared to
The
how it
demo was
actually plays
amazing because
out.
he started off in the alleyway in the evil version with all the like the chain metal everywhere, and it was like all those sounds just clanging and banging around everywhere. And yet to walk down the alley, you kind of fought a couple of monster things, and then you got to the end of some kind of alley, and there was blood and guts everywhere. And then these weird, like babies with knives for arms, just swarm in, and you're like bees, and just like cut you down.
Yeah.
And you're trying to fight, and it's like game over. But he's like falling asleep, and that's the end of the demo. And what's supposed to happen? And in the real game, he wakes up, and in the daylight, in the diner, like it's a nightmare. And it's just like a
This is
failure
like
state in the game where you have to fail.
you've just kind of though hit on a like we were talking about the era
Mm.
of cheats and cheat codes and stuff. The
Yep.
era of demos, getting a physical demo on like a disc
There was
of a
no
game
Konami
before it
Code and
was
Extra
released.
Lives of Silent Hill.
Oh, but man, you might have played this as well. There was a 10 minute. It was a demo with a timer on it for Resident Evil 2.
Yeah, this time
You couldn't play past 10 minutes, but you could
unless you
actually
did an extra
mod.
replay.
Yeah, exactly. I was just about to say you could use your action replay to pause that timer, and then you could end up playing through. I think it was something like 1/3 of the full game was actually in the demo, but
Wow.
like loads of the sequences couldn't be played
Mm.
because you needed other things to activate them. But you could still go through
Yeah.
like the entire police station, open doors, look in boxes and stuff. Like the whole game was there, just that you were walking through this like empty kind of map. But it
Mm.
was really cool. I love the way you could mess with demos and things like that. Like
Yeah.
another thing,
It was,
it's a
that
bygone
was a
era.
massive thing, that PlayStation era too. All those demos and that. There was like Wipeout, and there were so many great demos that were like just, I don't know, you could play for ages and would really made you want to play the game, but they were fun in their own right. Just playing some of those
Like
demos.
I used to play like just discs of demos. Like I'd stick in a disc and play through all the demos. And I play through them like, even if I'm only playing, like, say, if it's a racing game, you might just be playing the same 3 tracks over and over. If you couldn't afford to buy the full game, it was what you did.
And
I loved the demos for that. And there was
yeah,
also a
well,
good laugh to play really shitty games that you knew you would never buy,
it
but you
was.
still got a
Well,
chance
they
to
used to
play them.
have OPSM, like official PlayStation magazine, was one of all the demos, and a lot of those demos really helped hype up PlayStation, sell the games. But that was a very British cultural thing. America was not known for giving away fucking games demos.
Yes.
Whereas right back in the old days, like BBC Micro, Amiga, Amstrad, C64, they always had demos and stuff for people to play on, like the old magazines and
Yeah, even the
bootlegs
old
and that.
PC Gamer magazine used to give, like,
Yes,
way back in the day, it used to give floppy disks with demos, and then
yeah,
later
floppy,
on
Doom.
it gave CD-ROMs. Yeah.
Uh, But yeah,
Oh, different
those some of
time.
those demos were fantastic, like bloody Gran Turismo and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, because you could do. There was one, especially. I think it was the PC demos. Sometimes, like, I
Mm.
got a. I'm veering. I know we're not really on a particular topic anyway, but I
Yeah,
got a demo for a game. It was called Majesty. It was basically
yep,
like a top-down RPG game where
yeah, yeah,
you build your own kingdom essentially. It worked like Age of the Empires, except just in
yeah, yeah.
medieval
Yeah,
times.
my brother played that
But
Age of Empires.
the PC demo of the game literally was the full game.
Mm.
The full game. The only thing is you couldn't save anything. So
Yeah,
once you
yeah, I
exit the
remember.
game,
I
you
remember
lost
that
everything.
a lot of those
So as long
shareware
as
ones
you
are
just,
like that.
yeah, as long as you just kept the machine on, like, you
Hmm.
could play the whole game. It was crazy. Like, could you imagine them doing something like that today where they just give an entire game out for
Well,
free?
I used to go to like an electronics store in the city back when I had like, I think I had my Master System, but I only had like Alex Kidd and Wonder Boy, and you finish them, and a year later I can't afford to buy any games. I used to go into the city, and they'd have like Mega Drive set up in display stores and play the store display, and there'd be computer stores where they would have the shareware version of like Jill of the Jungle or Duke Nukem, the 2D side scrolling before they made the 3D. And we used to go in there and just sit there and play it for like an hour or two and complete the bloody full demo thing. And the
Yeah.
salespeople didn't care because it was a big store and they were busy and just didn't give a shit about these street rat kids coming and playing the bloody computers who figured out the program was on there and how to load it up and get it, because they were meant to be demos to buy computers, like for software and that.
Yes. That was the beauty of it. You had all these, yeah, like made for demo or made for
Yeah,
store type of, like you said, the
there'd be
shareware
there'd
type
be
of
one
software.
kid
And
who
you,
so it worked out, type in because we didn't have computers at home, we didn't know DOS or Windows or nothing like that. It was like Windows 93, 94, whatever. It's just MS DOS they were running on. Some kid would figure out, if you type in this directory, search, it'll tell you what's on the computer, and if there's any demos, you'd go the run. Not that different than the old C64s as far as just typing and basic instructions. And once one kid found it out, he told everyone, and people that knew nothing about computers would go in and sit and type it. Oh, we're playing these games for free.
there just used to be so many of those little, like, life hacks as a kid that you knew
Mm-hmm.
for getting
Yeah,
around things. I remember even those prize machines that you'd come across. The ones where it's like literally the claw comes down and
yeah,
it
the
picks
claw.
the.
I got one
But,
up
like,
at the shop here. It's called a Pokemon things.
like there used to be one in the local shopping center, and everybody knew that you could get 2 free goes on it if you just plugged the thing out and plugged it back
What?
in again. And, like, all you needed to do was make sure there was no, like, security or anybody just watching,
Oh,
and, like, somebody just go plug it out, leave it for like 10 seconds, whatever, plug it back in, and then there's like 2 free credits.
that reminds me. There was an early version of Mortal Kombat 2. They did multiple versions. Like when it boots up on the screen, it'll say version point whatever. And the full retail version, they ironed out some of the glitches and the stuff, and you'd play that in the main arcade in the city. And my mate told me, but my mate used to play Super Nintendo PlayStation, which they go, oh, there was this earlier version, all these weird glitches, and I'm like, bullshit, whatever. You can do a fatality and a babality. I'm like, you're making shit up. This is like Dalzim, pull his head off, roll it across the screen, Street Fighter level of playground nonsense. But it turned out at some of the old chip shops had this early version of Mortal Kombat 2 before they'd changed the BIOS set in the chips. and all these weird glitches worked. You could do multiple fatalities, babalities, and all this stuff. And if you did enough of them, it would go boom, 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 and it would reset the game and fuck it up.
Do you ever watch any of Top Hat Gaming Man's videos? British
I have
fella.
watched a few of his, not recently, but he does some good videos. Yeah,
No, the only reason I asked because it's just because you'd mentioned the Rainbow Street Fighter, you've mentioned that
yeah,
version
yeah.
of Mortal Kombat 2 as well.
The glitches.
I like sometimes he'll do a feature on some. I know he did a Rainbow Street Fighter one,
I love
maybe
that
last
Rainbow
year.
Street Fighter hack.
But I wonder if he's done one on that Mortal Kombat because I had heard those because that's another thing about back then as well. If somebody told you something, you
All the
really didn't
myths and
know if it was
rumors.
bullshit. You just don't
Yeah.
know until you play it.
Well, half the cast of later Mortal Kombat characters were based on playground rumors they later put into the games.
Yeah,
Ermac.
Noob Saibot, Ermac.
Yeah.
Great games, man. Oh, I love the Mortal Kombat games. I love that whole culture as well of people verbally telling you cheats and codes and stuff
Yeah.
to do, or like even
Well,
just. I remember my first version of Mortal Kombat 2. I didn't have the instruction manual, so I was like relying on like word of mouth,
yeah.
to learn
Well,
moves. Like you'd be
if
asking
it
people
was
who own the game, like, how do you do this?
if it was Street Fighter, like you really had to rely on someone else who knew more than you. And Japan, being the old school games, was more of a closed culture where they're not going to tell you the cheats, and you meant to discover that years later or whatever. Whereas in the West, if someone finds a cheat or a thing, we want to tell everybody. And
Yeah.
so the guys that worked on Mortal Kombat, they built this stuff in knowing people are going to discover this stuff and tell there's Reptile in here and there's Jade in Mortal Kombat 2. And they built it. The more rumors that built up, the more stuff they would feed back into the games and put them in there, which I thought was really cool.
That was really cool, and it added to the intrigue that you were kind of
Yeah,
had
yeah.
a bit of inside
And
knowledge as to what was kind of going on.
yeah, actually, my friend, remember the first Mortal Kombat arcade machine and the second one? Do you remember the attract screen that actually had an ad for buying CDs and comics?
Oh yes, yes, that is a blast from the
Yeah.
past.
So one of my friends, my other friend Chris, I knew since I was about 12 years ago. We had Mortal Kombat Mega Drive and that. But a friend of his mum's bought him those for a birthday gift. It was like a mail away thing for the official soundtrack album, and there was a comic book before all the other comics existed, and they were actually pretty cool. And he got I can't remember. I think it was this. It might have been an audio tape. Mortal Kombat 2, I pretty sure was an audio CD because he done me a bootleg of it. So I had the soundtrack, and then later on I had the movie soundtrack as well. I used to listen to both of them, and the
What
comic was
year
actually really
roughly,
cool.
Johnny? Would you say that comics from?
Um, well, whenever the game came out, because it was by the guys that did Boone and Tobias that made the game. They were actually
Yes.
comic artists.
Well, I'll tell you what, Johnny. The next time
It'll
we
be on
do
a torrent
something
for
like
sure if you
this,
look it up.
no, I'm telling you, I have a feeling, right? So this is kind of wandering off a bit, but so my
Yeah.
sister used to work. She used to live in Boston, and
Mm-hmm.
she was she was hotel staff there for a few years, and she came home one summer with this Mortal Kombat comic, which I still have. This is what I want to show you the
Yeah.
next time because I'm going to have to
Yeah.
take it
Yeah.
out of storage. But she told me at the time that the artist who did this comic was staying in the hotel, and as a
Mm-hmm.
tip, he gave her the autograph first issue, and that's what I have upstairs somewhere in the house. I'm going to show it to you the next time. I'm going to try and dig it out the next time, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I wonder if it's the one because I have a feeling at the back it has an ad for Mortal Kombat 2. Like it's either a coming soon
Mm-hmm.
ad or it might be like for like the latest edition. So it could match up with the timeline you're talking about. It would be a
Mm-hmm.
real coincidence if it turned out to be the same,
Yeah. Like
kind of
I,
comic that
I
game
read
like that.
all those ones back then. Like my friend had the mail away comic, which I, even though I played the game all the time, I don't. Like most of those arcade games, is like winners don't do drug. You don't pay attention to fucking
Yeah,
ads on video games.
yeah.
So that he actually got those was awesome. We read them, were really nice because it was Boone and Tobias, the guys that created the characters and the whole franchise. Um, After that, they had the Malibu comics. They did a licensed I used to have them in the dollar bins. I used to have all those, and I can't remember who did after that. It was quite a number of years, and some other company picked up again before we get to all the modern ones.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely dig it out because you just kind of you
Mm-hmm.
sparked the kind of memory in my mind, and it's one of those
Yeah,
things,
yeah,
you know, where you just kind of you have these things for most of your life, and then you kind of forget about them until somebody mentions
yeah.
something that's kind of like along the same train of thought.
Well, I
But
think I'll do. I'll wind up do like in record. We can sort of chat a bit more, but I'll do in record in that.
yeah, well, I was gonna probably go and nip out and get a bit of lunch anyway,
Yeah, yeah.
and but you see, I
Because
could
otherwise
even
we're here all
this is
night.
actually the odd time. I'm just trying to work out in my head. I think every
Yeah,
5 weeks or so, I have to
yeah.
work a Saturday. The way it works out in
Mhm,
my rota,
yeah.
I don't know what your story is with weekend work, but like the
Whenever suits
time,
you, man, we can be on
yeah.
your schedule because I've got a
Oh, well, I was gonna
very
say like if
flexible
this is
work
an
schedule now.
okay, what time is it for you now at the moment?
It's only 7 o'clock in the evening on a Saturday.
Yeah, so and it's if it's a convenient time for you, like what we did
Mhm.
this morning was
Yeah,
a like if it's good for you, I'd try and keep that
yeah,
up
yeah.
as like a
Any time on
semi
the
regular
weekends,
deal. Like,
fine with me.
yeah, no, it sounds good. It sounds good. And look,
So
and also as well, like if you need any kind of, because I know we didn't really do any. I know there's just like grabbing figures and stuff like that. But if you ever want
yeah,
me
yeah.
to like, if we're talking about something, say in particular, like
Well, we'll
I don't know,
do when we
Transformers, and
talk
you want a
about
specific,
WrestleManias and that. I'll build a slideshow and stuff, and I'll put some visuals for that. But I'd like to do a series of ones where we can talk about certain topics, WrestleManias, whatever, and other ones where we can just shoot the shit like tonight and
yeah,
just relax and
you've definitely though, because that's one of those things. Like I wasn't expecting to be talking about games, and now I can't fucking stop thinking
yeah.
about like so much stuff to
That's
do.
my brain,
Like
man.
that
Just goes
whole
everywhere.
because it's not even just the games themselves. It's that whole kind of offshoot of everything
Yeah,
around them, like the cheats, like the modding, like the the,
yeah.
the fixed arcade games. It's
Did you
just
get
it's like a
Tips and
different
Tricks
world.
magazine over there? Because that was a British one.
Yeah,
I've
we
still
did
got some
indeed.
old issues out the back. I might dig them out.
And sometimes they do like an almost like an end of year almanac style thing where
Yeah,
they'd like
yeah, yeah.
have all
They
the
used to do
cheats.
like I've got big full size magazines, and then they did the digest black and whites where it was like just here's all the codes and move lists for Tekken 3 and stuff like that. And
Oh, those were the days, man.
yeah,
Those were the days. No, well, look, Johnny, I'll tell you, we'll leave it at that one then for today.
yep, yep,
I'll go grab a bit of lunch. And yeah, sure. I'm looking forward to seeing what you come up with in post production for whatever
yep,
you
yep.
you end up
That'll be
putting
fun.
out. And yeah, like we said, whatever you want to do next, I'm easy on any topic,
Yep,
any discussion, and if we can ram in a bit of shooting the shit as well. Sure, it's just a bonus,
yeah,
isn't it?
that'll be good. So if anyone watching this after the fact, we're going to do a series of talks and other stuff, and we might we're going to do our own sort of thing, and now and then we might have a guest from circle of toys friends and whoever, but we want to do a bunch of talks about this and that and whatever the fuck we feel like talking about.
Exactly. Bob and Joe show, yo.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, I'm going to hit end on the thing here. It's been awesome. Thank you.